Week ahead for the market, we're back to the downside ever so slightly here this morning, coming off a huge day on Friday that followed comments from Fed Chair Powell opening the door to rate cuts, plural, to come here in the near future for the overall market. That's how the Nasdaq is shaping up right now, gapping to the downside ever so slightly here after the move on Powell's speech was held nicely all day long. We go out basically at the high of the session on Friday. Can we hold some of these levels to start off what is going to be an interesting week? The headliner coming Wednesday, remember this week, we'll get NVIDIA earnings coming up after the close on Wednesday. PCE data, don't ignore that, later in the week as well, as we look for more clues ahead of the next CPI and ahead of the next non-farm payrolls, and obviously the decision coming up in September from the Fed. Will it be a quarter point? Will it be more at this point? The market pricing in better part of 5 rate cuts now before the end of next year. How we get there remains to be seen, but lots to discuss this morning, lots of individual movers. Intel to the upside. We get the confirmation after the close on Friday that the Trump administration is indeed, Adara's beside me, is indeed, Ms. Adara, taking a 10% stake in Intel. So I mean, it's non-voting. There's no opinions to be had on how they should run their business, theoretically. Yeah. We'll see how long that lasts.
I mean, opinions have already been made, Brendan, on how they run the business. Trump has said that he did not like how previous management was running Intel. Right now, he seems to like Lip-Bu Tan, though, of course, their relationship started with him calling for Tan's resignation. So what a roller coaster. INTC for sure, something to watch out for, though, unfortunately, this chart isn't really populating yet. I'll have to check on that. But either way, I think INTC is something to watch out for. This is news we already kind of had potentially priced in, but we'll have to wait and see how the stock reacts. PDD reported before the bell. We also, in addition to earnings, NVIDIA earnings, lots of other names reporting this week too. CrowdStrike, Snowflake, Affirm, Marvell, Dell, so lots to watch out for. Yeah, a lot of opinions this morning on NVIDIA's report and the weight to which we should put towards it at this point. And I think it's a valid point to consider here going into a week where, I mean, we've heard from all the big tech names. They've all, for the most part, said they're going to spend more on the AI side of things. So I think that's going to be already priced in as far as this NVIDIA report is concerned. And I mean, a lot of things I was reading this morning really pointing to China specifically, saying, how is Jensen going to come out in this earnings call and really address the China issue? Well, we know that he's very much a proponent for selling those chips in China. He's made some solid arguments for that. But as I said, like many times during the news segment in the midday, I think unless there's like a significant change here between how U.S. and China are addressing the issues with, like, you know, either one of them either conceding or making some kind of compromise, I think we're going to continue to have this back and forth ad nauseum. So I don't know. It's going to be a tough one. The other thing with NVIDIA, though, is they really have to beat and raise on every single aspect, because if they, like we saw once, they had a slightly tighter gross margin guidance than we were expecting, and they dropped. Yeah. So this is, it's really make it or break always for them. Obviously that's going to lead the way as far as semiconductors are concerned for the next couple of days here. All eyes pointing towards what is going to happen on Wednesday. That, meanwhile, is 83.3% in favor of a cut coming up in September. If you go out to the end of the year, I'll just click over to December, and my webpage is frozen. There we go. 50 basis points, now the most popular call before the end of the year. And as I mentioned, guys, if you go out even further than that to the end of next year, now 5 rate cuts being priced in. How we get there remains to be seen. But definitely Fed Chair Powell opening the door to much, much needed, I think, changes to come as far as rate policy is concerned. And remember, we're back to pre-COVID on the policy side of things, or how they're approaching the policy side of things at the Fed in general, which could change. We're going to get another dot plot coming up here as well. Yeah, they did notably, I mean, they have their 5-year policy review, so that was, I think, a really huge part of what Powell said. Of course, the market was mostly excited about the policy adjustment, but they did actually quite literally adjust some of their, as you mentioned, the pre-COVID policy. That was a large part of what was said in terms of how, I guess, they're approaching certain aspects, so that could be really interesting. I think the other thing, too, Brendan, is that even with Powell indicating a potential cut, members of the Fed and Fed speakers are not necessarily heading in the same direction. An hour after his speech, Fed's Hammock came out and she said that she still doesn't know if there's any data to support a rate cut in September. So we'll have to wait and see. If you think about it from the grander scale or the bigger picture, from Powell's perspective, anyway, you know, he's been the one targeted all year long with
you know, why aren't they cutting? Why aren't they cutting? Why aren't they cutting? He's too late. He's too late. He's too late. We've heard that over and over and over again. If he now opens the door, but then the rest of the Fed members still vote that we shouldn't be having a cut, he's automatically, you know, let off the, you know, he can just point to them and say, okay, well, they didn't vote in favor of a cut, so what am I supposed to do?
We might get some different True Social posts about Powell should that happen, right? Maybe things will change, but no, all jokes aside, that's what I've been thinking as well, because there is just such a divide in the Fed. We have some people that are kind of in between, leaning maybe a bit more dovish. We have some people that are very dovish, but not very many, and then even more, I would say, that are extremely hawkish. So Powell's kind of in the middle of all of that. We'll have to see how it shakes out.
As we said, more inflation data to come later this week. Michael Noss is standing by. We'll touch base with him coming up here in a second. Sean's off once again this morning. Hey, Michael. Obi is in this morning. Good morning, guys.
Thank everybody. Well, Michael's not wasting any time. He's locked and loaded and ready to go. But I can't believe we went through the entire opening call. Look, obviously Jackson Hole is a big deal. Yep. We know that to be true. We know NVIDIA earnings are a big deal this week. Yep. We're not going to say anything about ETH all-time high over the weekend and pulling back 10%. Bitcoin.
Just a few dollars away from 5,000.
Just it got close. Yeah. It got really close. ETH got really close to the 5,000 level. Look, the pullback was, it happens. I mean, when Bitcoin pulled back off 125, it pulled 10% back. That's kind of what you see here. ETH still on trend, still looking incredibly strong. Goes to an all-time high. We said it would probably happen over the weekend because that's what usually happens. We didn't get that break late in the day. So let's be real. This has still got to be on watch, all of crypto, but Bitcoin over the weekend as well. There was people like to, there we go. People like to use the term flash crash too much, but there was a pretty decent event getting it down to about the 110 level. So volatility is going to stay in play in the crypto space in addition to obviously the chips and all the risk assets. It was amazing what we saw out of that Jackson Hole move. And Pinduoduo, which is now red, pulling off the Burj Khalifa pattern in the pre-market here. I'm not calling it the Christmas tree anymore, and shout out to Wayne here at the office who coined that term literally 10 minutes ago. Wow, red on the day now, PDD, after a big beat. What goes up must come down, apparently. But not NIO. That Chinese name doing just
that thing's been on a 5-6 day run as well. So NIO's definitely on watch. One of my top names on the day today. I'll be watching that. But yeah, no, Pinduoduo, definitely it makes sense. The analogy makes sense. Yeah. Pretty much looks like a very sharp tower there. And yeah, coming back to the downside. Report was pretty solid, but I guess guidance and the tone is not as I guess well taken by the market as of right now, and giving it up. So my plan on Pinduoduo now has flipped the other way. I was like, all right, we get some strength. We're already kind of breaking out. Do we catch a little bit of a bid? But if the bid's not going to come in off of the earnings volume, then I might be looking the other way, but we'll see. Who knows? I have no idea. I think that, yeah, Jackson Hole was very, very strong. We got that strong push right off of the report. We didn't even need Powell to say a single word. We got that push, and then we got that continuation as well. And the thing with that Bitcoin chart and just crypto in general, Neil, is just like, yeah, sure, you can call it a flash crash, but like, I don't know what this is, what people's fixation on strong red candles is, but you can see on the Jackson Hole push, we had just as an aggressive of a candle to the upside, right? So it's just balance. To me, it just looks like balance. It's just the market balancing itself out. You had an outlier, maybe a little bit of a bid that might not necessarily be related to crypto at all, but yeah, exactly. You got to be able to find balance in the force, and that's why I love mean reversion. Because participating in bringing that balance back into
gotta get that balance
some
too.
Names. But no, NIO is definitely going to be on watch. It is getting overextended, so I'm definitely.
Is it going up, up, up,
and away?
Is it golden? Golden. I'm just going to drop some K-pop.
Okay. Oh boy. Yeah. See, I haven't watched this.
The sing-along's been going crazy. No. Dude, the K.
Oh, it's a sing-along. It's like.
Okay, so it's a Netflix movie. Yeah. And they put it into theaters with like the sing-along, and the kids are going absolute nonsense for it and just singing it like every 2 seconds. My daughter's going ham. She loves it. But we're not seeing it a second time. It was amazing, but yeah, it's good fun. It's good fun. I'll leave it at that. But that stock is going up, up, up. PDDs going down, down, down. We're going back to the desk.
Just noticing Moderna higher here this morning on, looks like this headline, their Spikevax COVID-19 vaccine. Are we still talking about COVID-19 vaccines? Moderna, not on a lot of volume, but up a little bit here in the pre-market. Other than that, not a heck of a lot as far as individual movers are concerned outside of, as we were mentioning, Intel, the big one, I think, here this morning, definitely taking the majority of the attention on the volume scale right now. NIO over in China, up again this morning, extending gains from Friday as well. We had Xpeng not following suit with a bit of an investigation. We'll touch on that coming up here. Let's bring in Michael Noss. Get a check of a couple of things here as far as the overall market is concerned coming off. I mean, give me your thoughts here first, Michael, on what happened on Friday. The reaction was obvious. I mean, I think the good part was he didn't wait till the end of the speech to drop that nugget. He just got it over with, and it was just exploding to the upside.
Yeah, it was massive. And, you know, I didn't bring the charts here, but maybe in the after hours show, we'll talk a little bit more about it. That unwind that we've been talking about a lot, I've been talking about on air here, where everyone was short the ES and short the IWM and then long big cap tech against it. That unwinded a little bit when we got the weekend report. So we saw not as crazy as much as I'd like to see, but some covering of the small cap, some covering of the S&P 500, which is a little bit less tech heavy, and then some selling of the Qs. So we were seeing this going into this all week where, you know, you're having this days where the IWM was up pretty bad, and then you had the Qs down, and that kind of unwinded. So I think Jay Powell kind of kicked that off because if he's going to lower rates, that's going to benefit the IWM. Now, the question is, was this a voluntary unwind, or are we going to see more of it this week where there's some kind of fund exploded? But it feels like a little bit, just looking at the data, a little bit of that pressure is taken off there.
Let's be honest, a quarter-point interest rate cut, I mean, it's really not going to move the needle as far as the market is concerned at this point, I don't think, anyway, but in September anyways. But I think it's the shift in the commentary that everyone's looking at.
Yeah, and it's just because he's been so kind of tight-lipped around this, and people were wondering if Trump pushing him in a certain direction is going to make him like rebel in a certain way or whatever. But I think it's just more of a tone shift. I don't think the number actually matters as much as just saying, okay, they're interested in cutting rates again. That will benefit these companies more than those kind of thing. All
right, what are we looking at as far as technicals here? The market right back to all-time highs, basically.
Yeah. So if this is going to continue and we're going to get a breakout, it's been a long time since I just machine gun fired a lot of ideas at you guys. So that's, I think, what we're going to do today. Now, this is the S&P 500. This is why I'm very interested in this particular strategy that we run over at Stats Edge, and it's a simple breakout strategy. So the next chart, I just have the equity curve of it, and the reason for that is to show, I'm one of those. So a lot of people would highlight the areas where this equity curve looks great. I'm highlighting the areas where it doesn't. And just to show you that there is no kind of magic here, even though the equity curve looks great. It's got about 28% CAGR, which is compound annual growth rate for the nerds out there. But I want to say it has a roughly 47, 48% win rate. So these ideas, if they happen, we know based off of me testing, 20,000 trades across 25 years, that they're going to be wrong more often than they're right. But however, if you trade and you're keeping your stops tight and then you're letting these things go, over time, this seems to be a good strategy. And if you look at the areas that it underperforms, these were all rougher markets, right? 2017, 18, 19, right? And then we've got 2020 and through here, and then 2021 to 2023, that area as well. So if we are going to break out, this is going to be kind of a strategy that I'm going to go to because it seems to perform well when the market's breaking out, which to me, it looks like it could. And if this short float has to continue to unwind, then these are the names that we're interested in looking at. So first one here is eBay. I forgot that eBay was a company, to be honest, until this came up. I don't know if anyone still uses eBay, but it's been great recently. So a nice move from 72 to 110. So that's a 30% move for a big, involved company. That's it's not a new company by any means. And then this tight base, and that's essentially the pattern that we're looking for. That's what the back test was on. It's a little bit more quantitative than that, but it's essentially a bull flag. That's what we're looking at. We're looking to trade bull flags here, and if we get that move, move over 101. That's the entry point as per the algorithm. And then your stop's going to be around 99. And you can probably guess why it has such a low win rate is because we are being very, very tight with our losses here. That's a hugely tight loss for this particular one, making it so that if we're right, we should be able to make multiple times that risk on the less than 50% chance that we are right. Here, FNMA, Fannie Mae, this Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac has been insane. If you go out, it's gone from 50 cents to like 11 bucks recently. And this is kind of the would they, won't they of, is the government going to spin this off after buying it in 2008? Is it going to spin this off? And it had an insane move from $6 to 12, and now it's just been consolidating sideways. So we're looking to get this out at 11.50 if it breaks that, and then we're going to put our stop under 11. So again, very, very tight risk. We want these breakouts to be confirmed kind of immediately. And if not, if they come back into the range, then we're just going to move on here. Next is New York Times. A great earnings report, I guess, for New York Times. I don't know who's buying these papers or subscriptions. I always get mad when I go to the website and they want me to pay and I leave, but someone is. So a nice little breakout there after earnings. That's what caused this gap. And then we've been consolidating, again, really, really tightly here as well. So we're looking for a breakout over 650, 660 and a half, and then 59 and a half is the out. And last but not least, underwear, I guess, has been just on fire. This has been crazy. I don't know if this is a short photo play or whatever. I wouldn't expect Hanes to have gone from $4 to $7 in just a matter of weeks. Like, this is August. It's kind of doubled. So I don't know if they invented a new kind of underwear I should look at or whatever, but you can see how tight this consolidation is getting. So this one's only like a 25-cent risk, right? We want to see a break through 650 and that to happen pretty quickly and some continuation. For me, I might, push this one a little bit and give that $6 as a risk. But I don't know what they said, but whatever it is, people are liking underwear. So this is what I spent a lot of my weekend doing, is saying, okay, if the market is going to break out and continue, then this particular strategy that's looking for breakout continuations should be pulled up with the market. And just having those stats behind really, really helps. But as always, I know we're selling in the pre-market, if none of these things trigger and we just kind of sell off, then we just ignore them and go to a different setup or wait for next week.
I know, because we'll get a few questions on this. If we just jump back to that, the profit chart on this strategy, do you want to just quickly run through exactly, some of the parameters around the strategy itself? I mean, all of those charts obviously looking very similar. Nice tight wedge or looking to break out type of pattern on a chart. But exactly what is it that you're looking for with this strategy?
So this one there's some, machine learning and optimization in it and all that fancy stuff. But essentially, it's looking at a weekly chart and it's looking for one giant weekly candle up. So a candle that is larger than normal. So it looks at the past history of the chart and says this weekly chart is significantly larger than normal. And then the next week for it to be a very small inside week. And the reason I use those weekly candles is because if you think about a large 1 week move and then a very small next week move, if you zoom into a daily chart, you're just by necessity getting a bull flag there. And then what I'm testing is for the ones that trigger, we buy a portfolio of up to 10 of those names, and then we hold them for a week. If we get stopped out, then we get stopped out. But if we're in the trade, we continue to hold it for another week, and then we exit it and do it again. And that's how we do this over and over again. But it's very much pattern-based. I know a lot of back tests and algorithms use a lot of indicators, but this one is really, really simple, which I find most of the best systems are incredibly simple. So yeah, week one, really strong week, unusually strong week on unusually large volume. And then the next week, a nice little consolidation inside week, so it hasn't sold off and retaken most of that first week's action. And then week 3 is what we're playing, and we're looking for just a breakout in the continuation of that first week igniting move.
Based on Friday's action for the overall market, possible last week's candles could have been that initial move that you want to see, and then we get some sort of consolidation coming up this week.
And that's the beauty of it. If we do, say we pull back or we don't do anything this week, we're probably not going to get a lot of triggers from these. But then next week, when I run the same strategy in the same numbers, there could be even a longer list and maybe even a better looking list from there. So the beauty of being systematic in our trading is that, we're running 3 current swing trading strategies. And sometimes, pullbacks are working, sometimes mean reversion's working, sometimes breakouts working. So on top of what we have here, we have a whole bunch of pullback strategies if that happens. I have no idea what's going to happen this week, but I'm just prepping for that breakout just in case this short float is going to continue to unwind.
Great stuff. Michael Noss, we'll see you after the close tonight.
I'll talk to you then.
Looking forward to it, Michael. I'm laughing, chuckling because I forgot eBay was a company. But sometimes you sleep on something, and much to your own chagrin, eBay, I am surprised. I had no idea it was doing this well, and that's why you run scans and things of that nature. So shout out to Michael for bringing this one to everyone's attention. It does look incredibly strong here in eBay, and regardless of what you think about it, the company-wise, stock price is king when you're trading. So that kind of a wedge break on a bull flag looks very enticing on eBay. Not a lot of volume here today to be able to sink ourselves into, and apparently Lululemon is of interest. Ooh, I love that look. Ooh, it's getting a little spicy around here. I love that look. But I know where we're going to have our bread buttered today. You got to look at the chip space. I know I'm looking at NIO.
Oh, yeah.
Do not sleep on Open Door. And we will we're definitely going to have to talk about these furniture wars that are going on with the president setting sights on furniture names.
Those are plums.
This is a very interesting looking plum.
Almost an apple.
Yeah, it looks more like an apple based on color, right? Like this does look like an apple, but this is a plum. And we are going to Joe, who's got the upgrades and downgrades for us. I'm downgrading the color of this plum. What? It looks weird. I'm just saying. It looks weird though, Joe. Okay, he says it tastes good.
All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. And I'm giving the upgrade to the plums, to be honest with you. So anyways, let's take a look at our upgrades and our downgrades this morning. On the top of the list, we have Okta getting that price target raised to $125. Ulta Beauty by TSLA Advisory Group. And then we got Raymond James upgrading Alaska Air Group and Dyne Therapeutics with a price target of $70 and $35. Now, on the downgrade side, we have American Airlines also downgraded by Raymond James. No price target there. And then we have a downgrade on American Eagle Outfitters, guys, to a price target of $10 by Wells Fargo. CrowdStrike also getting that downgrade by BMO Capital Markets with a price target of $500. And then Sentinel One, also by BTIG Group Research, getting that downgrade as well too, guys.
Sentinel One, yikes, yikes, yikes. The reason why this one is of interest, well, we saw what happened to Fortinet. CrowdStrike being on that list, I guess maybe it's something about the space or valuations, but this name in particular, Sentinel One, is at really, really key levels. Go all the way back to earnings in May, $16, 16, 16, 16, 16. What do you think it's at? 16. That gives you a level here to work off of. If it can hold on to it, is what it is, but support till it's not here on Sentinel One. Personally, that's something you trade off of. I think you trade off a level like that. CrowdStrike, on the other hand, this to me, whoops, I just put in CoreWeave instead of Crowd. Oh, muscle memory always gets the better of you because CoreWeave is usually a stock that we trade a little bit more. CrowdStrike is starting to present, I think, a decent dip buy opportunity. We always try to keep it simple. If you like the stock, playing off the 200-period moving average in a long term makes sense. Now, it's got a double bottom, I know, a lot lower, but and it's been trending down, but this is exactly the kind of thing that you look for a dip buy. Palo Alto was a good dip buy on the Fortinet, poor earnings, and CrowdStrike rounding into that 200-period moving average certainly needs to be on watch. Sentinel One, probably more of a trade off of 16 than anything else. I don't know that I'm really a huge fan of them, but CrowdStrike, on the other hand, this is a quality company. That you're getting a little bit, I'm not saying at a discount because these all still trade incredibly expensive when you look at their PE, but that's just how it goes. This one at the 200 period, I like it.
Yeah, I like the look here on that American Airlines with maybe a little bit of an interest. With the downgrade, it's kind of pushing up into some higher time frame resistances. You can see multi-month push here. This is a 3-hour chart. Let's take off some of these indicators as well. But yeah, coming in pretty strong off of a little bit of a base from April. Not all the airlines necessarily looking like this, but I like it. Maybe that maybe that downgrade brings some attention to this name here on the day as well. You see that last week, pretty aggressive push going into the close as well. That bid coming in way before that Jackson Hole bid as well. It came in right off of the open. So I like it for airlines. We know that I think Air Canada is having some troubles there as well.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I do like the sector for a little bit of a watch. But I don't know if the downgrade is really going to bring anything too crazy. But you can see it is doing relative volume in the pre-market. So I definitely will have some eyes on it. Extension pretty aggressively on Friday, all the way to the upside, closing near highs on American Airlines. So no idea whether that downgrade is really going to affect it. Still got eyes on, though.
You never know. You never know. But, there is one thing I wanted to get to for sure before I forget about this one. And it is going to be the one that is coin. And we're going to talk crypto. Well, 100% we're going to talk crypto for sure. But this one feels tricky on Coinbase, because I think when you see the pullback that happened in Bitcoin, Bitcoin and ETH, let's be real. ETH made an all-time high and pulled back 10%, so its pullback doesn't really get the juice that I guess Bitcoin's does, because it was overall weak over the weekend, no all-time highs made there. But if you looked at what was happening in, say, the Robinhoods and the SoFis and some of the other names in the space, even bullish to a certain extent, where they were getting nice rallies, Coinbase, outside of the Jackson Hole move, has not been doing that since earnings. It's been relatively weak. Now, obviously, you're nowhere real close to retesting that 300 level yet, but I feel like on any weakness, you've got a very distinct earnings low just underneath that $300 level. If things were to get hairy on a Monday morning, this is one level that you don't necessarily want to forget about, 297 into 300 on Coinbase. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about crypto a little bit later on, for sure. Yeah. There's so much to look at.
I like MSTR.
You like strategy?
I like MSTR a little bit better. I think just the way everything's kind of gapping down. We just saw Coinbase gapping down as well. But just with the way this thing has been setting up, just going back up to the hourly and taking a look at the bigger picture time frames, you can see that we've been in a bit of a downtrend, right? Same thing with coin, but I like this a little bit better because of the sideways action here. I think that if we can crack some of this base, that prior low from prior week right there, that's coming at 325 halves. Sure, that's $20 away from current trading prices, but I think it's well within range. If we can break that, I think we do maybe a little bit more of the same with that sell sentiment coming in across the board on crypto. Maybe we revisit the lower end of this range here. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. So it's got a lot more ways to go in terms of range lows when you compare it to something like a coin, where yeah, sure, that can come in, but you can see we've stepped up pretty aggressively, and I think I like the bid on Coinbase a little bit more than MSTR. No idea what either of them are going to do, but I think, yeah, definitely with crypto taking a little bit of a pullback, I wouldn't go as far as to call it a little bit of a flash sale or flash crash, maybe a little bit of a balance from last week's aggressive bid, which did also come in on Friday, right? So you can see that was the bid that came in right here off of Jackson Hole, off of that open. You can see 10 o'clock. That's exactly when the event started, and you can see that crypto bid coming in just as aggressively as a sell-off. So it's like, I don't think it's anything to panic about. It's just kind of, in my opinion, just price doing a little bit of a balance dance over the course of a couple of days there. 17,416 is the most local high from Friday there. So yeah, we'll see a little bit of a downtrend happening across the board on crypto names. We talk about how the cycle usually kind of goes, right? It's Bitcoin kind of runs first, then it's like ETH. We're seeing that happen now, and then eventually things just fizzle off and move on to the altcoins, and then everything maybe goes dead for a little bit. But
my barber was back to talking about it.
There you go. That's always a great indicator when you know.
Well, I don't know. It hasn't been the best indicator. I find, when he's bringing it back up to me and asking me about crypto, it usually means we're about to pull back, or we already have.
Yeah.
So whatever. It's It's one of those things. It's like anecdotally, like when your taxi cab driver or whatever, your Uber driver or your barber is getting excited again, that's because we just hit all-time highs and all of his altcoins or whichever ones he happens to have are all doing really well. It's like, yeah, that's great. I'm like, just try to remember the cycle. I say the same thing every single time to him. Just remember the cycle. You've seen it happen before. Like we've had this conversation before. Make sure you actually make some money on them. And be really careful out there, everybody. Let's be real, because you can make money in both directions. And you're not like as a trader, you can go both ways. But a lot of times, if you're buying and holding, those unrealized gains, they don't mean that much unless you realize them. Let's realize what's going on in the overall market and get to that free watch list.
Google here, guys. There was an XAI headline from Elon saying, quote, XAI will soon be far beyond any company besides Google. And then he says, then significantly exceed Google. So in the same sentence, they're not there yet, but then they'll soon be far beyond. So I was just keeping an eye on Google here, but it's actually being bought up on that for some strange reason. Not a lot of volume behind this, but looks pretty good to start. So anyway, let's, as Neil was mentioning, start a little bit of a discussion here as far as what we need to know this morning. Heading towards the open. If you haven't done so yet, jump down to the description of this video. Top link in the description will get you to the sign-up page for the watch list. It's free every single day. Comes right to your inbox. So all you need is your email, as we mentioned. Let's go to crypto to kick things off. Once again, pretty wild ride over the weekend on the back of what happened, as you saw there on Friday. This thing got bought up, possibly even more so and aggressively than equities in general. The overall market obviously had a big rally, but I was watching IBIT throughout the morning and it was just, there was no selling whatsoever. It was just nonstop buying. Goes out on the highs, basically. We give it all back and then some here this morning pre-market.
Again, I think it's really worth comparing what Ethereum has done since Friday with what Bitcoin has done since Friday. So Ethereum actually made a new all-time high again yesterday and then dropped off, whereas Bitcoin's actually been selling off all weekend. So Bitcoin's actually poised for a 3-day losing streak. Ethereum only on the first day of selling. I want to talk to you about Bitmine, Immersion, BMNR, and MSTR. Both these companies are known for buying lots of crypto, Ethereum and Bitcoin respectively, and both actually added to their holdings as of filings made today. MSTR actually buying just over 3,000 BTC for $342 million. They now hold, apparently, I guess the cost here of their holdings at $46.5 billion. So MSTR and BMNR are a little bit more sensitive to these moves in Ethereum and Bitcoin, respectively, just because of how much they hold.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Bitcoin itself. A couple people just mentioning this variant. There's a buyout today. VRNT is a cash deal. So, Neil, is that one back open yet? I don't actually see the quote. Okay. 2050 I'm seeing on that. But anyway, thoughts on crypto, guys?
Well, I went over Coinbase a little bit there because I feel like, I don't know, BMNR, that's been the vehicle. If you look at what's been happening over in ETH, like this has been the vehicle that I think everybody seems to want to trade because it's moving so much. And that rally was, spectacular. A Jackson Hole rally was like the rising tide that left all ships. It's wild sometimes how levels can become so obvious is the only way that I can think about it. Like how many times did this hold on to exactly 47.5? 47.5, 47.5, 47.5, and then rally off 47.5. I don't think we get to trade that today. 55 is the level on BMNR. If it's able to close candles above 55, it's a breakout. I don't like taking a breakout trade on it in a complete vacuum, but we're getting a bounce here in ETH, and as long as that can hold, I think you want to favor long. That said, I've shorted this stock before. So if we do a fail at 55, like some kind of topping tail candle, some kind of mean reversion, then I would put in a short trade at that 55 level. But I'll let it get there and then make a decision. Are we holding bid above on a higher time frame? If we are, then join move as long as ETH is doing okay. Otherwise, I should be ready to play off that key level in a different direction. It's just I'm eyeballing that price because what we saw, ETH made an all-time high and pulled back 10% is sort of a normal pattern that I would suspect. But since we've sat down in the morning, it's been only to the upside on ETH. So you got to watch out very closely. If this is going up, then you don't want to be fading BMNR.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that BMNR stock. Kind of going back to this Bitcoin, I'm looking at a higher time frame. I like where we're coming into, Neil. Sure, not the similar kind of move there on ETH versus Bitcoin over the weekend, but selling definitely very dominant here on Bitcoin. We're coming back into some of these highs from earlier on in the year 2024, end of year as well, in and around that 108 area. We can see that we've spent time kind of stepping up on top of it, and I think this is going to be the moment of truth, Neil. Does this prior resistance now turn into support after we've started to see some aggressive selling coming in? 124,533s are the high right now. I remember when we were talking about this prior high at the 123,231. 07s, and I was like, oh boy, things are looking a little bit interesting in and around here. We come in, we wick that area and pull back in. So yeah, let's see. I'm curious to know whether or not this prior resistance area that happened to be holding for just a few months starts to turn into a little bit of support. I like the hold of that 100K mark as well. And yeah, I think, no, you're just hearing some noise back there. But yeah, no, 100K should be interesting. Last time we came into there, strong wick, strong bid coming in off of there as well. So I just want to see a bigger, higher time frame structure stepping up to show us that, yeah, we're still healthy. We're still very well in the uptrend, even though short-term volatility and short-term selling might be in on Bitcoin. You always got to remember, this thing trades 24 hours. This thing trades all the time. So does it really make sense to look at it on a shorter time frame, especially when you're looking at a bigger picture, kind of maybe a swing or a trade like that? But shorter time frame, yeah, we've been selling off. So does it mean that we look for breakdowns on some of these names like Coinbase and MSTR and maybe even BMNR? Sure, I think that's very valid. I think especially the ones that hold Bitcoin and other cryptos as, I guess they market themselves as foundries or however you want to call them. But their main business model is to hold. I think that's why I like MSTR a little bit better as well, especially if Bitcoin's going to start to sell off. That might have a more direct correlation with MSTR or BMNR rather than something like a coin, which is an exchange.
Right? Which is exactly why coin. I think coin has been weak recently. It's been like this. It's been the one thing that you can sort of fade on weakness almost easily since its earnings. Like, you have to remember, like, Coinbase flat out disappointed on their earnings, which sets them certainly apart. Well, the next stock on the list is no stranger to disappointing on earnings either. That said, the U.S. government's taking a stake, so maybe that means greener times ahead for Intel.
It actually sold off a little bit on the actual confirmation, again, coming after the close on Friday before it did get bought right back up. But 10% stake coming, they're not going to have any opinion, they're not going to have any operational say other than, as you put it, on Truth Social.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be lots of operational say on Truth Social. Whether or not that impacts the running of the company is a whole other story. But I mean, you could argue certainly this is a win for Lip-Bu Tan, new CEO of Intel. You get that $8.9 billion investment. And as you said, you know, the government can't actually force them to make any fundamental changes to the company. So, I mean, they can opine, but they can't actually enact those changes. So not a bad look for INTC. I do want to draw your guys' attention to this infographic here. This just shows Intel's annual revenue over the last 25 years. And as you can see, it took a steep drop after Pat Gelsinger was appointed at the start of 2021, which is kind of sold off from there. And by sold off, I mean there's a clear decline in revenue on a year-over-year basis. Let's see if Lip-Bu Tan can turn this around, because we know he actually voluntarily left Intel's board about a year ago in August 2024 because he disagreed with Gelsinger's policies. So we'll have to see if his management can change things. He's only been here for less than 6 months, but interesting look and certainly a nice early win for Tan.
Hassett, speaking this morning, confirming, was asked directly whether or not this is the first of many to come, and said it is possible that the government takes more equity stakes in firms, quote unquote firms, guys.
My whole take on this whole the government stake thing is, okay, they're not going to have any voting rights, they're not going to have any say as to what goes on at Intel, but how could it possibly hurt Intel when it comes to acquiring customers for their foundry business? I don't see how it can. Like, what are you gonna, like, the pressure that could be put on, oh, Intel doesn't seem to have any good American companies that want to do business with them. It just, you can sort of see where that's all going. Now, that said, price action has been favoring the long for a little bit here. And I don't think you want to diverge at least too far away from that, right? Like it was in a consolidation anyways, pulling back into 23, and then Jackson Hole decided to break everything out of the hole. Let's be real. So like on Intel today, like look, I'm going to talk about NVIDIA as well when we get to the chip, because we're talking chips, and that's going to be in play, no questions asked, this week with earnings on Wednesday. But 24.6 and 25. One of those two levels has to hold the open, and then I like it. There's no obvious breakout setup on Intel today, but you do have some key dip buy levels that were, one of them, 24.6, was shown on Friday, but then you got to go red to get there, and then there's the 25 level, the even dollar. So if I can see it holding 25, great. Maybe I'll be involved in the long. 24.6 is where I'd look for the reversion. And then NVIDIA is as sort of obvious as it gets here. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just obvious to me. We had a triple or quadruple top up here just underneath 179 on Friday on NVIDIA. If we break 179, I think that's along into the big time resistance, 183 to 184. We get to that price, then I can talk short. But the first look would be this trying to break out that 179. If you got a nice little bull flag here, so if it breaks out upside, I'll take a shot at the long. If we can't, then I don't have to trade NVIDIA today. It makes it simple.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. I'm watching this one as well. It's coming into that key $25 area, but higher time frame, it's that 28 that we're all looking for, I think, Neil. That's that range high in terms of this multi-month consolidation that we've been having here since about August. Again, August coming in with that earnings report, giving us a strong quadrunk to the downside all the way from 30s to 20s, and we've been pretty much consolidating there on top of this $18, $19 level, roughly a little bit of a base, a little bit of a range here. You can see in April we did try to get a little bit lower, but along with the rest of the market, I guess we caught a relative bid here, but still stuck well within its range. So it's definitely lagging behind that of its peers when it comes to other chips, and even just, I guess, tech sector in general. So this is that level I'm looking at right here, that consolidation high at 28. If we can distinctly get above that, I think then we'll be a little bit better poised for some fresher highs here. And yeah, this is where that selling actually came in from. 36s going into that earnings, and then strong flush and quadrunk off of that earnings report as well. So yeah, all of this price action I think definitely is very interesting to me. Some of these prices have more, I guess, confluence for me than others. Range break is one way to simplify this, I think. Still well within kind of this range here. So yeah, I'm curious to know whether or not we break some of last week's highs. Last week we did get to a high of 26.53. I was like, oh boy, only about a couple dollars away from range highs, but we'll let it build. Intel's kind of doing its own thing. The good thing I like, though, Neil, is that we have been stepping up pretty nicely since this whole, since the Louboutin kind of shake and bake, if you want to call it, with the president, where he was first like, oh, this guy needs to get fired, and then he calls him over to his house, and he's like, all right, well, let's work something out. And then now it's like, all right, we're getting a 10% stake from the U.S. government, giving it, I guess, a governmental or a presidential seal, being like, all right, we're going to do our best to try to make this company
They want them
do
to
better.
work.
They want them to work. And the price action is starting to step up as well. It's starting to work as well. So it's like, I like that. When the fundamentals start to align with some of the technicals and we actually start to see some real moves, I like the way that Intel is setting up right now.
All right, let's go on to PDD here. We did have a whole bunch of strength across the board coming from China this morning. NIO, the remaining Chinese ADR in positive territory. Something was said on the call for PDD. As you saw there, it was initially very, very positive. Gets all the way up here above 140 before a quick reversal. And I'll direct your attention to the bottom of that statement. This is coming from one of the executives on the call, saying basically changes in external environment, intensifying competition will inevitably lead them to step up investments in merchant ecosystem. Increasing investments means short-term financial results will suffer.
Yeah, and I want to also read the top part of that statement because that's not even very good either. The top part is basically, again, the same executive saying that apparently they observed steady growth in retail sales, and they're confident in the potential of China's consumer market, but then they immediately follow with that with they're not thinking that the quarter's profit levels are sustainable. So it's pretty rough, and it's also, I think, even rougher when you consider this report, even though it was initially, well received, wasn't even that great. They did beat very well here, adjusted earnings for American Depository share, $3.08 per share versus $1.91 expected. Sales were also a beat, but their adjusted operating income beat estimates, but it was actually down 21% year over year. And if they're saying that those income levels are not sustainable and they're already down year over year, it makes you a bit worried for what could be coming for Q3.
The price action telling the story here. That being said, I mean, we're right back into the middle of all of this chop, guys, on a higher time frame, set to open up down here around 115.
Yeah,
What a wild move this morning, man.
yuck. We called it the Burj Khalifa pattern, but now it's something entirely different because it's lost more than just the entirety of the move. It's now red on the day. And this is the kind of fake out. Like when you fake a break like this on multiple time frames, 131 on PDD, and then you've lost Friday's levels as well. Let's see if it can rally. If it can rally back into Friday's levels, I think that's short. 170, 127 into 129, like right into that area. Let it calm down, let it try to open up and show a little bit of strength. Oh, we don't have NIO on the board. Okay, well, this is the opportunity to talk about NIO.
Oh, yeah.
NIO's been on a heck of a run. On Friday, last week I should say, the new SUV rolled out there, but it didn't matter. It was a technical break du jour on NIO. Doing this, breaking this awesome channel, but this is break, go. Feels like this could be the reversal, or not, reversal day is the wrong word. The pullback day, or at least a little bit of a dip day for NIO. So it's pretty simple for me. If it doesn't break out 680, then I'm looking for the gap fill at least back into prior close on NIO. That'll be at the open. So if we get a false break at 680 or just a little bit of sideways action, I'd rather play it tight for a pullback day on NIO and then can look for the trend resumption a little bit later on, but not at the open on NIO.
Yeah, that PDD move is absolutely crazy. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. Strong push, strong earnings report as well. I guess we're seeing a little bit of a miss here on EPS, and then revenue coming in pretty nice as well. Oh boy, that was a 64% miss on EPS. I gotta check a couple of different sources for that one. But regardless, when I looked at it in the morning, it looked like it was pretty strong. It was pretty good. 142 was the high, 141.99 if you want to get specific. And then I guess they started the meeting where people start to get talking, and sentiment might be take a shift, and that's exactly what we saw here on PDD, giving it all up. So reference price off of the earnings reaction low and the open of that candle both getting taken out and now trading even lower below prior day's low. So now we're seeing that this short-term support was taken out, and then the support from prior day, technically as of right now, see that 126 wick. This is a 15-minute chart, so that prior wick, just wicking that prior day's support as well. So the question becomes, have we taken a full turn here, Neil? We're observing some of these supports turn into resistances here in the pre-market, and we can see coming into the end of the week, we had a pretty decent bid. Nothing too crazy, but Thursday bid up, and Friday sustained a pretty tight range at those highs from prior day as well. So nice little push, multi-day run into earnings, but giving it all back and then some on that report. So it's got me looking the other way, to be honest, but you never know. We could still just be like, all right, the buyers were there in these areas, and maybe we come back down here to find some buyers once again. But beautiful shake and bake, giving it all up here on Pin Duo. NIO is definitely on watch when it comes to the ADRs, but NIO is kind of doing its own thing, I think, as of right now. So Hang Seng, definitely you want to keep an eye on when you're trading these names at the same time. But PDD is going to be on watch. Let's see if it shows up with any sort of executable price action. I'm just speaking for myself in the open session today. We'll see.
All right, let's go on to open door. Back to the downside right now. We tested that Friday high early on this morning in the pre-market here, but coming off a little bit. I mean, there's so much attention around this stock. There's so many different eyeballs and reasons why we should be looking at this. Here we are up again today.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about two of, I think, the main reasons people are looking at it. One is, and I will fully give it credit, there are some fundamental reasons for this to be up. And that would, of course, be the implication that Fed Chair Jerome Powell made during his Jackson Hole Symposium speech on Friday, that they could basically be open to adjusting the policy. That was just a rate cut. Now, as Anthony Pompliano posted on X, these interest rate cuts could be a great deal for Open because companies in that mortgage and housing space are very poised to benefit from lower interest rates. Now, Anthony Pompliano brings me to my second point with Open, which is the heavy retail investor interest. Anthony Pompliano and an individual by the name of Eric Jackson are two very big proponents in terms of trying to, I guess, push the stock higher. They're both invested in the stock, and we know Eric Jackson has been standing outside Drake's house and trying to get Drake to buy shares. So there is the very real fundamental element here for Open Door, but you also have to remember the other side of it, which is this, I guess, glut of retail interest and interesting tactics to try to get retail involved.
Trump on Truth Social here with a new post. Talking about how much he paid for Intel and its value among a few other things. So I just looked at Intel, didn't really do anything on that. But Trump is truthing currently.
Sharing his truth? I don't know what to call it.
Whatever.
Surprising. I mean, come on, and we'll see more of that. We'll see more of that this week. And as I said, I'm not going to think it's going to be a negative overall for Intel. But the Open Door, why can't you hold $5? Look, the rally and the squeeze has been pretty epic on this, and that's a lot of what is likely driving this stock is that short squeeze. What I don't like about it is, well, 5 was the key level on the daily. 5 was a failed breakout. I mean, it ended up being a good long if you bought the dip on the 5 level in the afternoon, no questions asked. But 5 effectively was then a failed break, and then we closed pretty much on the dime, and now we're losing the $5 level. It's just, for me, not bullish at all unless we regain $5. And a gap fill could see 420 easily. Like, that wouldn't even be that crazy for you to see 420 here. Pull up a 15-minute chart. Like, that makes... Oops, we go the other way here. That makes all the sense in the world. It was a prior high. That's where we dipped into before we got the big resumption. So I think you got to be patient with this. If it cannot hold $5, then I think you're wading back into closer to the 420 level for any kind of resumption here on Open. Great run on Friday. But I saw this in the chat, and someone mentioned in the chat, they didn't really catch the name specifically, and it was, should we not be concerned that we could have like that Jackson Hole rally, lose a bit of that gap? Do we rallied up and then we just give up that move? Of course we got to be concerned about that. Like, that's the thing about these moves that go like liquidity vacuum up, is then you could easily have the same thing on the way back in. You just got to be very particular about it. That's why I don't want to chase this thing up here. If there aren't buyers above that key $5 level, then I wait until it shows me something closer to that 420, which I think would be the next place of support.
Yeah, I like that look. Looking for that prior kind of resistance to come in and act as a little bit of support. We saw how clean the $4 level has been in the past. Again, in July, this stock ran up pretty aggressively, doing a similar move here all the way up to $5. And we kind of talk about the general idea of what may be going on here in terms of just, I guess, maybe some float mechanics here. You can see strong volume push, bit of a failure to break back below on lower volume. We talked about this a little bit last week. And even through earnings, we can't really get back below some of these prices. And then you can see that's really low volume here relative to the strong volume nodes that we had I guess, coming into the end of July. So slow creep back up on increasing volume. I really like this look here, Neil, and I want to see. I'm going to give it some time. I don't expect it to kind of just blow the top right away and just blast through $5. It is pretty thick. It is very liquid. It's definitely going to take a lot of dollar volume for this to kind of push to be pushed around a little bit. But I'm definitely keeping a close eye on it. That 420 does look good. But yeah, let's see if we consolidate and create some healthy action in and around that 5, higher highs, higher lows as well. So I'm going to be watching prior days 536s as well. So this range is looking pretty decent. Let's see if we get more of the same. We were seeing that multi-day increase in price as well as volume. I'm going to be looking for more of the same. Let's see if VWAP buyers are in. I want to see that buyers are still very much in control. And remember, it could just consolidate. Today could be an inside day as well.
Yes, sir. And shout out to VinFast for delivering over 35,800 EVs in Q2 2025, marking a 172% jump from last year. That brings their first half total to more than 72,000 EVs, up from over 220% year over year. With stronger sales usually in the second half, they're on pace to easily double 2024's 97,000 units. They're also crushing it on two-wheelers, with nearly 70,000 e-scooters and bikes sold in Q2, up 432% from a year ago. And with gas-powered two-wheelers being phased out in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City by 2026, the growth potential looks huge. You can find them on the Nasdaq under ticker VFS. Shout out to VinFast. And ooh, we don't say this too often, but I guess recently, Palantir has been a little weak.
We're giving back most of Friday's gain. We did come off pretty heavily into the close on Friday for Palantir, but gapping to the downside in a pretty big way this morning. There's really nothing significant as far as news is concerned here this morning, but if you zoom out, we're essentially right back into this choppy mess from last week here for PLTR.
Yeah, I mean, that 156 level is just very, as you said, it's just chopped this whole morning. I want to mention as well, Palantir has still had an incredible year. You can check out this infographic on X at TTV Research, but I want to show this because it shows Palantir is in the top 25 most valuable companies in the S&P 500 still even after this drop. Now, of course, this infographic is as of August 1st, 2025. So right now, Palantir is actually valued a little bit below Home Depot. That's really the only salient difference, but it's still the number 22 or 21 most valuable company in the S&P. So even with this drop, it's done really well. But given how far it's risen, you could also argue if it falls, it could fall pretty hard as well.
Just watch Webull here, B-U-L-L. Just reading they've launched crypto trading in the U.S. Initial move downside there, guys, for both.
Ooh, I like that story. I don't know if I like that downside move. Shout out to Jedi. Thank you for the super chat, Jedi. In here, Jedi 2828. Guys, long or short TQQs. Any pain? Look, the way I'm looking at the futures today is be wary of the gaps, right? Like the support on the Qs on Friday was at 23,525, and we're trending underneath that and underneath VWAP. So a trend break would occur, essentially breaking out that level. So that's where I'd be watching. Look for some resistance up at that spot. But overall, every stock is going to be a little bit different. Palantir, this 158 just it doesn't stop being significant. Highs on Thursday, and then there was support there on Friday on the way up and then on the way back down. So 158 is an easy over-under for me. What I mean by that level is favor short under until you're breaking out over 158. I don't want to be touching that thing to the long side. Looks like that one is relatively weak. It's a name that, to me, I prefer to fade, and I was asked in the chat what was on the note about Tesla. We had said Tesla is breaking a wedge. Remember the wedge? Well, that's not even dead on. Whatever, I'm not going to bother moving it. You get the idea. It's trying to break out that wedge pattern. You have a nice triple top, or you can call it 4 times at 341. 1, 2, 3. You could argue 4. If it's breaking 341, I'm long. If it's not breaking, then I can find some kind of structure short as it's failing the resistance level. So that one for sure going to be on watch. And I think we talked about Wayfair a little bit, looking for that one to fade, but it's already starting to slide off. Yeah. I want to short pops back into prior support levels in here at about 74 on Wayfair, as the U.S. government taking aim at furniture companies, not necessarily, or imports I should say, not very good for Wayfair, Williams-Sonoma, and RH, but Wayfair down 8% on that.
Yeah, I think you're very correct on that. We don't normally say that, Palantir is looking weak, right? No. And it's been doing that for the past couple of weeks, I guess. We saw that maybe slightly, if you want to call it, a little capitulatory move there into those 140s. I think the low was 142, 142.35 there, and stepping up from there. But the question becomes, are sellers still kind of in charge here on the shorter time frame? Bigger time frame, definitely not. You can see that we're still pretty much decently within this range here. I know I have a lot of indicators. I don't know if I have the same ones on my chart here, but yeah, we're holding trend pretty well. Let's just say that. There's a lot of lines and a lot of anchors, but we're holding trend, the uptrend, pretty well, even after, I guess, a few weeks of a little bit of selling here. So the question becomes, does the bid just just lock back on and we do more of the same. That 150 level is going to be interesting for me if we continue to sustain structure above 150 and continue to kind of step right back up into some of these prior levels here. I like it for the continuation, but I'll be watching some of prior week's levels here. If those sellers are still in charge, maybe a push below 150, and then maybe coming into 140s as well. We know that this thing has broken a little bit of trend before, and it goes on a bit of a choppy run whenever it does. So this is just another one of those times. The question becomes, though, Neil, you can see this on a weekly chart. This thing is absolutely crazy, right? Multi-week, multi-month run up here. Really depends on when you want to kind of call it from. We only have 5 seconds left till the open. The bell brought to you by VinFast as well. 3, 2, 1. Hey, yo, let's go. Oh boy, got my eyes on some NIO, got my eyes on some Wayfair, some Google, some Zoom as well, and the market's coming in hot with a little bit of a bid right off of the open. So let me know in the chat what you guys are trading. What's your morning plan? Let's get started, Neil.
Yeah, we're already starting to go. By the way, Roblox, I didn't see a story on Roblox as to why it was up that 5%, but catching a big bid here in the morning, Roblox, they had that negative news, obviously. By now, we all know about some of the negative news with Roblox is the best way I can think about it. It's not the first time that they've had issues with, oh, wait a minute. Let's go to Tesla. That was fast on Tesla. We'll get to Roblox in a quick little second. It did break that 341, but remember I said if anything fails a break at the open, I am not hanging around at all. Give it about like a half a buck there on that 341 break, but it just didn't want to go. If it pulls back into VWAP, that can be one thing. But if you fail a breakout after what we saw on Friday with those gap fills, I do not want to be hanging too far around for that failed break. Roblox, again, whatever. I feel like it's been a buy since the latest news, but there seems like it could just be technical, but it's actually accelerating here, now up 7%. I'm going to keep my ear to the ground because it's actually catching a pretty solid bid here on Roblox. This is looking
There's no news, Neil.
Yeah, it's strong right now, at least off of the open. Up to hit 127. So yeah, Dara, no news. I've seen no news. Could just be continuation of a relief rally here for Roblox.
Yeah, we're catching a little bit of a pullback in here on the market, selling off. So yeah, right off the open, we get a little bit of a push, and oh boy, the sellers are coming in pretty nicely here across the board. And yeah, just getting in a little bit of NIO here as we pull back into some prior day levels. We talked about that 660.
Oh, you got 660?
Prior day level. Yeah, that was also confluence with some pre-market lows as well. So let's see if this action kind of sustains. Do we see that control of sellers kind of come in on the day today, or are we still going to bid
Palantir
a little bit as well? So no idea, but it's coming in quite nicely. Intel selling off as well. Oh boy, I had AT&T on watch as well. That's coming in with a strong bid. Zoom Communications. Zooming to the upside. Once again, beautiful continuation there on ZM as well. So Open Door not really doing anything too crazy just now. PDD holding its own 125s. As of right now, and Google, a little bit of a shake and bake. That wick, you can see the market's pulling back as well, and Google came in pretty strong as well. So let's take a quick look at that chart. We'll go to a 15-minute here and look at the opening.
Palantir is dumping.
Minutes. 12 minutes left for this 15-minute candle to print, and coming in real little hot. You said Palantir?
Palantir is absolutely dumping in here. Wow, it's at 152. It just tanked $5. $4.50 as it continues to go lower and lower and lower. Yeah, I mean, over under 158, but it just only went to the under and went to the under rather heavily. Good look on NIO. Glad you got into that one. I missed. So I wanted it back into the 680 level, and it did not. Whatever. It just didn't actually pop. We've only dropped in. Wayfair, we had mentioned the U.S. government looking into furniture tariffs effectively. That one failed a break of the high and came right back underneath. 70 is held, so 70 has held double pop, double bottom in here on Wayfair. Got to make sure we get some out on the way to the 70 level, and it's pretty much an everything pullback. Like I just saw NVIDIA pulling back, Tesla, that's why we get out of that break really, really quickly. Cancel on NVIDIA, that one just broke through the low of the day. Yeah, looking like it's a short and maybe a temporary gap fill, but the Nasdaq only down half a point. It's not like we're falling like an absolute rock, but individual names looking very weak, with the exception of that Roblox.
Yeah, so I'm just staring down this tape on NIO. Sellers coming in pretty nicely off of the open there. Maybe finding a little bit of balance here on top of 630s as well. So just have eyes on kind of watching this come in here. So that was a pretty bit of an aggressive sell-off. Not really at VWAP just yet. I have VWAP at 661. Oh boy, that's a little bit of a confluence with prior day's highs as well. So let's see if that VWAP can potentially come in and give us a little bit more here. But what else do we got on watch? Palantir coming into that 150 mark, Neil. A 150.61 as of right now. So let me pull that up. This furniture trade is not really doing too hot right now. Just lounging around at its opening prices here on Wayfair. So nothing too crazy. I'm going to take that off the block as of right now.
It's dropping.
You know what? Yeah, it's kind of dropping, but it might take a little bit longer than I'm looking at. So I'm just waiting and watching for that one. Intel. Strong selling coming in. Let's take a quick look at the Mag 7 and see if there's anything that is of distinct difference here. Apple catching a little bit of a bid, so that one's kind of stronger than the rest of them. Amazon as well, still technically green on the first 15 minute. We still have 9 minutes left to print this 15-minute chart. Yeah, SPY is still holding up. Sometimes you just got to wait. Sometimes when things are not really moving around that crazily, especially on the names that you're looking for, if they're not doing what you're looking for.
Open just failed.
Yeah.
Open Door was looking relatively strong. That just failed the $5 level. It looks like we are waiting for that 420, but if it can't hold 5, then I guess it's taking a dive, for lack of a better term. I don't like that pun. I wanted this stock to go up today. I'm sure everybody wanted that stock to go up today. Got a 71 print on Wayfair there, and now it's just kind of going sideways here underneath the volume weighted average price. Let's see if we can get that low of the day. 70 is also, if it breaks $70, then you're effectively down 10%. So it's really going to be an SSR area bounce as well at that level, so I got to respect it. But open, not looking terribly healthy. I want it to hold $5 for long, but I can't ignore the fact that if it's going to lose $5, I should be short to stand. We have free locates on this as well. If we close under VWAP, then I guess I'm going the other direction in open, even though you can want it to be one way, but sometimes it's the other way. Come on, open. Do something good. Remember, we have new home sales at 10 o'clock as well, so keep an eye on that. Don't know if it's going to be a huge mover for the market, but the home builders have been in play for anyone looking at them. Tesla's trying to catch a bid, so I'm going to go over and just quickly show you. We had the break, said I did not want to hold on to Tesla on a fail break. It's now trying to hold VWAP. This might still be a chance at a long after all, if we can hold VWAP.
Yeah, I got a few things on watch here, and also reading through the chat to see what you guys are up to. People talking about some CoreWeave as well, and PDD. Yeah, no, I'm watching PDD. PDD actually caught a bit of a long, Neil. I don't know if you saw PDD catching a bid back through. So we reverted that action. Now maybe the reversion of the reversion is coming in with a low of 121.77. Nice little push back through that 126 level as well. 3 minute. Let's go take a look at that opening range high. Oh boy. Okay, so 130 is coming in as of right now. So let's see if we can kind of pull back in. These are reference prices from the earnings reaction as well. Look at that opening candle, candle open and candle low in and around. We're coming in to that initial candle open as well. So some prior pre-market levels potentially as well, but the bid is coming in quite nicely. VWAP, where you at? That's Tesla. Coming in there. And I think if I put on an anchored VWAP, will be relatively similar to that of the VWAP on the day today. And you can see, yeah, I already had this bit of a downtrend, and this is another reversion that I potentially missed, but that's okay. That's not really what I'm looking for necessarily off of the open, but sometimes it does come in nicely. And you can see that PDD, that this trend break or reversion to VWAP came in absolutely beautifully. Part of my playbook? Perhaps. Did I take it? Absolutely not. So where is the next trade? That's what I'm looking for here. Let's take a look at Open Door. Open Door, Neil,
now it is gonna
coming
break.
right back in. So shake and bake, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a lot of chop and churn in and around that $5. Really show me that price is being accepted higher, right? I want to see maybe some fresh holds of some fresher highs there as well. So I like this action.
I tried
here.
the 5 short into the open into VWAP,
Yeah.
but that just broke VWAP. I really wanted to be long this stock, but I tried the 5 short into the volume weighted average price. It looks like it wants to now close above VWAP on open. Where's my bid on Wayfair? Okay, Wayfair is still chilling. I'm looking for about 60, 70 pennies more in Wayfair to the downside, but open door starting to look strong again. I do prefer this to the long side. Let's see if it can close this candle above the volume weighted average price. We do that, and then I can reverse it. Well, I'm out of it, so I can go into the long trade. Just to give you a look on Wayfair here, it's tracking toward the bottom, but we're actually catching bids at 70.5. Aftermarket on Friday was the low at 70 bucks, but now $70.5 is holding. If I continue to see this hold, like a third time here, then I'll probably just jump out and look for a reload there in Wayfair, as that one continues to be relatively weak. They do not have what you need, but ADRs does.
Thank you for that lovely little transition there, Neil. Keep an eye on AAOI. This one actually making a topping tail candle right now. And Applied Optoelectronics, no news story on this one, 20% short float. As you can see, it rallied a little bit on Friday here. They are in the Russell 2000, and no other news. Again, no news, but just certainly a mover here. AAOI, back to you.
Thank you, Adara, for that. AAOI, we'll have to put that on watch with some small cappers out there. And shout out to day trader La TLRY. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I know that MSOS was going.
It's a TLRY kind of day. No, we've seen them move. We know that they're back into, well, they're back in play. Just remember what we always said. No one ever went broke taking a profit. They're around for a good time, not necessarily a long time. TLRY is about to double top, trying to break one. It's 137 I have as the high, but this has been a legitimate trend on TLRY. Just watch out for this double top. And then 170 looks like a bit of a level. I'm not taking a breakout on this. It wasn't part of my plan of action. I didn't really know a new catalyst on it. I know we're going back to ADRs in a quick little second. This might be worth it for like a failed break pullback in VWAP idea on TLRY. That seems to work more often than you'd think. Adara?
I was going to say there actually is a catalyst on TLRY today, Neil. It was on our watch list this morning. Jefferies raised its price target for the stock from $150 to $2. They maintained a buy rating, and they said that they think TLRY, there's still some issues, but they think it's probably one of the stocks that is best posed to benefit within that cannabis sector from a potential rescheduling. Now, also on Friday, we had this article come up from the Marijuana Moment to provide a little bit more color for these cannabis stocks. Apparently, the new chairman of the Republican National Committee, who, by the way, has been backed by President Donald Trump, is in support of the legalization of marijuana. So a couple different catalysts, but again, for TLRY specifically, that Jefferies price target increase is likely what's moving it. Back to you.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, I don't love price upgrades, but it's breaking that high right now. I still want to go for, let's say, fail break, pull back into the volume weighted average price on TLRY makes some sense. But Open Door's got it as well. And Open Door, to me, it's got better volume. We know the volume has been fantastic on this thing multiple days in a row. You're going to get it's on 118 million shares already. And it could also break out that high and go squeezing. So I just prefer Open Door. Come on, close above, just hold VWAP. You're going to fail the high. This time, hold the volume weighted average price. And then we think we have something a little bit more enticing. Still nothing crazy over here in Tesla. Like, it just continues to hold lower. The breakout doesn't go, got to get out. And very simple. I always get out, most of the time, prior high, or it'll be like the pre-market high in that situation. Never want to give up those profits that you have in other places. At the end of the day, you've got to be able to get away from these breakouts if they don't go. NVIDIA never broke and is only heading lower. And the name that we wanted short on a pop, Palantir, just cruised into VWAP. So if the only thing you can get is a shot at VWAP, then that might just have to be the shot that I take. We don't get the short here, so might need to look for it in front of the volume weighted average price. That's the continuation trade, like it or not. when the market heads to the actually to the upside a little bit here. Palantir going the other way.
Yeah, I'm looking at what some of you guys are saying in the chat. Canto Lanto in the chat talking about Uber. Yeah, didn't have eyes on that one there. And yeah, maybe doing a little bit of relative volume coming into the open. I have about 1.6, 1.5-ish. And we're attempting to push prior day's highs there. So strong push there on Friday, along with a lot of other stocks as well. 97.54s is the high of a prior day, as well as today, 97.50. So almost got there. But let's see if we can get back up to some of those highs. I was looking for that 100 mark here over the past couple of weeks. It seems like we're finally trying to maybe attempt a bit of a push into those levels here, but could be a bigger picture push, no idea. Here comes NIO back into its VWAP here, so I did cover a decent chunk in and around the 30s. Let's see if sellers can step back in. That 60 was prior day's high. I'm waiting for that to come in to give me maybe a little bit more information, but here is the knock on the door of VWAP. I have that at $6.56. We're currently trading 650s. Here on my P8, you can see that VWAP is coming in just right now here at that $6.50 level. So curious to know, do the bidders come back in? Are buyers still in charge? Do we kind of do a V-shaped recovery? No idea. But let's see what's going on elsewhere here.
PDD really bounced.
Palantir. Palantir, no bounce on Palantir, dude. Oh boy, back through 150. We're trading below 150 here on Palantir. So nice little selling coming in. So weakness for sure. Interesting stuff. So no bid here as of yet on Palantir. So looking good. I really like that look, Neil.
Yeah, the Palantir is really slumping, but PDD was able to catch a pretty solid bid here, right back above the volume weighted average price. So that looks pretty strong. If you look, you could have shorted this one right at open into the prior 127. It gives you $2 and then rips your face off to the upside. So you gotta watch out when these Chinese ADRs catch a bid. You know how nasty it can be. I know you're over there on NIO. I do want to acknowledge. I know a few people in the chat have been saying have a look at gold. Not much. Individual names probably moving a little bit better than gold in general. Although I want to point out, while we're sort of looking at actual gold, Bitcoin, low of the day, breaking right now. You've got ETH as well, which is losing the bid a little bit here. So, I can prefer one direction or another, but it doesn't make a difference. You just saw that breakdown in Bitcoin. You see the breakdown in ETH. BMNR doesn't go to 55, but this is the one I like to the short side when they're weak. BMNR. Let's see. I mean, crypto pulling back pretty heavily. With the market still having mostly an inside type of morning. Like you look at the Nasdaq, we have one candle, which is red, but really it's ran the top and it's ran the bottom in the pre-market. Now we're looking to break the bottom. So I'm still favoring the short, but got to look at that BMNR. I wanted it to break out today. Would have been great. If ETH could have just rallied and kept on going green like it was, 55 looked like a breakout price. But that's not happening. It's going the other way. So crypto to the downside. Hang on to your shorts right now.
Oh boy, yeah, definitely got to hang on to some of those shorts as the market comes in as well. So I got a little bit more involved here on NIO. Man, I hate it when I can't push in orders when I have orders already kind of sitting out. I tried to short the 50s and definitely was not getting filled. And I was like, oh boy, why am I not getting filled? My orders are rejecting. That's because I had orders posted to buy some more down here. So yeah, a little bit of a bid on the offer there. You can see 1,000 lots at 645s on NIO coming in. So let's see if we can kind of push into that VWAP there. Like I said before, 60s and 50s. But first, guys, exciting news for Canadian sophisticated traders. Beta Pro by Global X Canada has just launched 6 new triple leveraged ETFs offering 3 times bull and 3 times bear exposure to the S&P and the TSX 60, semiconductors, and US Treasuries. Even better, they're offering a special fee rebate, dropping management fees to just 65 basis points until December 31st of 2025. These ETFs also employ currency hedging to seek to neutralize US dollar exposure, providing performance that may more accurately reflect the underlying US equity indices. If you're a tactical, sophisticated trader looking to amplify your performance, check out betapro.ca/3x daily to learn more. What's going on, Adara?
Yeah, I just want to let you guys know here about another small cap name on watch, HCWB. The company's name is HCW Biologics. Market cap here of about $11.4 million, so pretty small market cap for this company, and a float of about 1.63 million shares. Now, there actually is a catalyst on this. They announced this morning that their scientists have developed some, immunotherapeutic treatments for the use against solid tumors. They also reported earnings last Monday, so relatively recent earnings play and new catalyst here for HCWB. Back to you.
Dara, appreciate you. Thank you, Day Trader LA. Thank you for the super chat. That'll buy a lot of cookies, actually.
Lots of cookies.
Oatmeal raisin is always a favorite. We appreciate
Oatmeal raisin
you.
is your favorite cookie?
You don't like oatmeal? Oh, it just doesn't. I love oatmeal raisin. That's easily my favorite for sure. But let's be real. The market is actually catching bid. And we appreciate all the super chats. In a couple of minutes, I'm going to go and see if we can't get the board up. But make sure you type in your symbols and make sure you use $ to see what you guys are looking at. It is working now, Fabian. Thank you. It wasn't before. There it goes, the stock visualizer. So remember, if you have a symbol that you're interested in, then type $. I'm going to give it a fresh start right now. $ and then the ticker. Make sure $ first, and then we'll be able to look back and see what it is that is piquing everybody's interest right now. AMD, it's early. You just started typing them in now, so MP is going to be in there, AMD, NVIDIA. Those are ones we're looking at, BBAI for sure, Open Door. Open trying to hold that 5 and not doing a very good job of it. I want it to be a lot stronger than it is. We'll check back in a few minutes on it. But I'm eyeballs here on ETH and BMNR. So ETH is trying to hold on to the volume-weighted average price on a bit of a bottoming tail candle. So that was a pretty solid bottoming tail candle. BMNR looking to get into the volume-weighted average price. So I'm shorting this one into 52. At least that's the plan. But I'm keeping a really tight, close watch on what's going on in ETH. Because if ETHA, let's go back here, breaks this trend to the upside, then I know BMNR is very likely to go as well. Wayfair was able to just get a reload. Is it still holding under 72, but now the buyers are getting in front of the 71 level here, Obi. Sorry, I tried to hold that sneeze. It is what it is. But BMNR, ETH, big reversal pattern here on Ethereum.
A little bit of a bid, eh?
I'm still favoring short on BMNR, but I don't want to ignore that bottoming tail candle that you see here on ETH. Still downward trend, still like it, but if we break trend, I pull the offer on BMNR.
Yeah, speaking of some crypto names, that MSTR is now trading below some of these pre-market prices. So looking good for that continuation. But let's see if we reclaim and sustain some of these prices, like Neil just said. If we start to see some of that reversion come in, you do want to be wary of a potential bid. That 340 is holding pretty nice as of right now here on MSTR. Let's take a quick look at our friends in the mining sector as well. I know that we don't look at Mara or Riot or anything like that as much anymore, but still very valid in terms of some of these crypto trades. So you can see already doing relative volume here in the pre-market session, over about 2 times relative volume. So strong flush. You can see the same kind of sentiment across the board on a lot of these crypto stocks or crypto related stocks off of the open. Seller dominance potentially coming in the first 15 to 30 minutes as of right now. So we only have about, I guess, 6.5 or 7 minutes roughly left for this second 15-minute candle of the day to print. And we're printing a little bit to the downside across the board. You can see here on the futures chart as well. First red candle, second red candle, and already coming into the open, bit of a downtrend as well. So just seeing if we see more of the same here across the board on some of these stocks. Let's take a quick look at Google. Google I had in mind for a bit of a long today, but it didn't give us that strength right off of the open. Kind of shopping around its opening range here. So I'm going to be patient for that one. Prior day's high is important for me. That's coming in at 208 halves. We have not even clipped anywhere near those prices except for the opening range high. So I think that's coming in. We saw that when we did get up there on Friday, selling came in pretty aggressively all the way down into VWAP, and you can see that we were holding that reference low going into the close as of right now on the open. So let's see if we see more of that continuation coming in on the day today. Tesla as well. Tesla was a hella strong on Friday, finally kind of broke out or starting to look like it might want to break out of that price compression that we've been noticing over the past few weeks here. And I'm looking for that 350. And if we sustain these prices, start to push a little bit, then I think I like it for that 350 test. Well within range here on Tesla. People talking about Open and Apple. Okay, cool. Let's take a quick look at Open. Open has not gone anywhere past its opening range as of right now. So going to be patient with that one. No real continuation happening on that one as of right now. And like I said, that $5, do I expect it to have a serious churn? Yes, I do. And is it doing that? Yes, it is. So I'm going to be patient and let that kind of come in. Apple looking bad.
Apple's green.
People
It's
talking
green.
about Apple. Apple? Huh.
Apple's green on the day.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing, though, Neil. Look at where it came into. This was that Friday high off of that, I guess, did we get intraday news? Something, whatever happened at about 1 p.m. on Apple. Bit of a shake and bake, push into 229s. We're coming in right back into some of those prices as of right now, maybe with a little bit of a pullback here. So let's see if that resistance continues to stay as resistance on Apple, or do we finally break? This bid is absolutely aggressive, and it's within the first half hour as well. So I think all those things may be confluencing for a better potential for a break if we do get past these prices, and it's coming onto it right now, Neil, with the market catching a bid once again.
Yeah, and look, the crypto names still going a little bit sideways, but ETH just pulled another lower high. Apple, I'd argue, I know it just pulled back there, but this is strong. Come on, the Nasdaq's doing absolutely nothing, but this has a chance to break out above 229. It's got a rounded bottom on it. I don't necessarily favor breakout trades at this time of day, but let's be real. Apple is a relatively strong stock. You go over and check, say, Alphabet, which Alphabet was super strong in the pre-market. It's nowhere near the Friday highs. So not really seeing any kind of crazy moves here in any of the Mag 7 with the exception. I mean, Apple's okay. It's not a crazy move. Wayfair is still holding 72s, but it keeps bouncing this VWAP. So the best we've gotten is 71, trying to get some 70s, but I got a bid at 71 again just to be able to scalp more out. But here comes the market. All right, Palantir's got to be making a bounce on this. Yeah, Palantir's trying to break trend and hold VWAP. This could be one of those, we've seen it before, but maybe we got one of those lit grab days on Palantir. It's just not strong enough. That's not the one. Go back to plan. We like Tesla a little bit better. And Tesla tried to break out before. It lit grabs underneath, but Tesla's really going to get going here, it looks like, off VWAP. It's already at the volume weighted average price. If we can close above VWAP, I'd rather go back into something that we favored for the long than jumping on over to Palantir. Just because I missed Palantir short at the open doesn't mean you got to go over to that one to try to work the long side of the trade. Tesla almost green here, as it looks like this market wants to try to make a run at the top before we get the number at 10 o'clock, Obi.
Yeah, that 10 o'clock number is coming in soon, eh? So I got to be a little bit wary here with some of the positions. By positions, I just mean in as of right now. A bit of a held offer here at that $6.50. We can see that it came into it a few times, just knocking on the door of that 650 and holding as a little bit of resistance on the offer as of right now. So let's see if that can continue. Does that stay in charge? I don't know. The market's coming in pretty strong, and if that offer still holds, then I think it's a little significant, right? We've gotten a triple test of this 650 level over the past, I guess, since about 9:40, I would say 9:45-ish. So yeah, for the past 15 minutes, we've knocked on the door. And look at that, it's confluencing with the VWAP. So this is what maybe I was looking for. I was looking for VWAP to hold in a significant way. It doesn't have to be exactly VWAP, right? My other VWAPs are somewhere in and around up here in the 650s. This P-Pro VWAP is here just below that 650 as well. So regardless, VWAP's just a line. What am I looking for? I'm looking for maybe some seller dominance on the day. And it seems like as of right now, we're seeing signs, little inklings of sellers participating. Whether it's one seller or many, no idea. But there's a seller at 650 on NIO. Let's see if that lifts. That lifts, and maybe we're poised for a little bit higher. The market is now pushing up a little bit higher as well. You can see the Nasdaq fresh highs. The ES is going for some fresh highs, and oh boy, that Palantir is nicely reverting as of right now, Neil, and it seems like Apple might be poised for some fresh highs as well.
NVIDIA is trying to break it out.
I'm waiting for maybe a reversion on Apple, but if we're going to break out that prior day high, I do not want to be in the way of that one there. Intel to the downside. Intel's selling off pretty nicely. Let me take a quick look at some of these other names as well. Where is Wayfair? Okay, we'll be right back. We got numbers happening in about 30 seconds, so watch out for that. Let's go to Adara so she can give us the updates.
Yeah, in about 20, or I guess now 15 seconds, new home sales units. We're looking here for a print of 0.63 million, so 630,000 homes. That's the forecast. Previous print was 627,000. So we're looking for a slight increase here. New home sales change month over month, 0.5% is the forecast. Let's see what we get here. Oh, it comes in at negative 0.6% I'm seeing. So that is below the previous print of 0.6% to the upside, and also below the forecast of 0.5% to the upside. Then in terms of new home sales coming in at 652,000, that is above the consensus of 630,000. So interesting mixed look here. Higher than expected new home sales units, but lower than expected month over month change. So interesting look there. Nasdaq continuing to push higher. Let's take a look at the S&P 500 to see how this is faring. Also pushing a little bit higher. Something that's not really pushing higher as a group is crypto. Ethereum actually made a new all-time high again yesterday, but both Ethereum and Bitcoin are a bit weaker, with Bitcoin actually poised to notch a 3-day losing streak. Let's talk about some of these catalysts on watch. Wayfair on the move here, along with other furniture names like WSM and RH, after Donald Trump announced via a Truth Social post on Friday after the close that the administration is going to be looking into a national security probe that could lead to furniture tariffs. Let's take a look here at INTC. After lots of speculation and reports, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick confirmed on Friday afternoon that the U.S. now owns 10% of Intel. Trump actually posted about this arrangement as of this morning, so keep an eye on a lot of these different companies, Chinese ADRs as well, like PDD and NIO, and watch as well with PDD reporting earnings before the bell. Back to you. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Thank you, Adara. That home number it's probably not going to move the chips, but it did move NVIDIA through the breakout. I'm going to get back in. It false broke the first time on NVIDIA through the high, and it looks like it's going to try to get going the second time. I want to inventory into 179, meaning I want to be long going into the 179 level without actually having to take or be forced to take the break. I just try to get back in at that 60. If I have to take 179, I'll jump into that trade as well. But I'm trying to get long into SoFi going into it. See a lot of names that are trying to run here. You've got Tesla, which is also trying to go, but it looks like NVIDIA looks like it's going to be the strong one. The Nasdaq is about to go green. Don't want to jinx it, but it looks like it could go green on the day. I might be jinxing it. We're about 0.2. as it's still trying to battle that high. So much of an inside day so far, which is, I'd say, disappointing, but we have been trending up a little more heavily. Wayfair is still holding out, but even that on Wayfair, I'll get to that in a second. We might break 179 first. Yeah, it looks like we've broken 179. So, looks like we're not getting inventory into 179, but we'll go back into this 179 half. If it can hold on to the prior highs in NVIDIA, then I hold on to the long. And just looking at Wayfair, you could have expected maybe the home builder number might affect it, but it's got its own news. What I have to respect, higher lows on the short. It's been holding 72, but with higher lows. So I've reloaded for the last time, I think. If it continues this pattern of higher lows, then I can't be reloading the same level over and over again, even if it has been working. Let's be real. It just means the stock is grinding higher.
Yeah, I think that Wayfair. I'm still watching it, man, and it's like it's not really doing what I was looking for. I was looking for that continuation coming in off of the open. We did kind of gap down, and we're not really seeing that that sentiment that I guess I was technically looking for. So no real trades on that one just yet. But yeah, the market came in real strong. But as of right now, the ES taking a little bit of a pullback here, and also that Nasdaq also kind of pulling in as well. Let's see, PDD's pulling back into VWAP. Palantir, oh boy, buyers are definitely in charge on this one. It seems like as we bid back through, as of right now, as we bid back through 150, pushing all the way back in. But yeah, pre-market lows still ways away at 156s. We're coming into some prior day lows as well. So yeah, selling coming in pretty aggressively, but getting picked right back up on Palantir here. Let's see if it can see its way into the future, all the way back up to prior highs right here, well 156, 157 here as well. All right, here's a super chat that we just got as well. So let's take a quick look at this. Thank you, Luis Rodriguez, I think. Luis Rodriguez for the super chat. Concerning EPIX, EPIX, the company's direct page specifies an expected dividend of 1.69 for investors acquiring shares before the 25th of this month. Does this encompass purchases made today? Thank you. You want to speak on that a little bit, Neil? EPIX. So I don't know. You'd have to like look into some of the details there, but yeah.
I will look into it.
Yeah,
Right.
that requires just reading up on the details. Yeah, it's again, I couldn't comment. I don't know the company. I don't know the specifics of their dividend. Adair is going to look into that one for you there for sure, because I think it's important. I mean, if you're trying to catch a divvy, you want to know when you're going to be eligible. NVIDIA holding the 179, at least for now. There's a lot. First of all, the top of the list, and I should have gone back to this, but nothing had changed. It's still Palantir, NVIDIA, SoFi in here. We've talked Palantir. We're in NVIDIA. Tesla showing up, Open Door, of course, as well. SoFi in number 3 spot. Okay, SoFi, I don't mind that. I hope that means it's doing well with the rest of the market here on SoFi. Come on, SoFi, be doing well, be doing good. We like to root for our own stock sometimes. I think that's a... Oh, boy, SoFi, are you kidding me?
What is happening?
SoFi is beast mode right now. Okay, maybe beast mode might be saying a bit much, but let's be real. It's breaking out. You got a 52-week high on SoFi. I'll take it. That'll play. We love some SoFi, but we did trim some after earnings, which might end up being the wrong decision, but that's all right. You got to take, no one ever went broke taking profit. Just to note, I'm continuing to get out on the volume weighted average price here of Wayfair, down that 8%. It's holding 72, but that's about all it's doing. You're getting this $0.50 scalp back and forth, but not a heck of a lot more than that on UNH. But wow, SoFi. Yeah, I like that move. Let's see if NVIDIA can continue this. It just got to like the 40-cent mark. If it's going to go dip, I might let it pull back into the prior high a bit more here. Like wait for it to try to retest the prior day high where the first break failed, as opposed to taking the 79 level in here on the way back. I want to go stair step upside, but be patient with the dip buy. Let's go to Adair.
I looked into that EPIX, EPIX, as a pharmaceutical. So I went on the company's website. They announced, it actually says right on the website with the announcement what the date is. So they did announce here on August 14th that they're going to be, I guess, doing this ex-dividend date as of August 25th. That would be today. Now, that's going to be paid for shareholders as of August 22nd. So if you had shares as of Friday, sounds like, according to this release, that you are eligible. Again, you can read the release yourself. Just look up ESSA Pharma, go on the investor relations page on their website. I can drop the link in the chat, and I actually will. But either way, it sounds like, as far as I can tell, that it'll be scheduled to be paid to shareholders on August 22nd. Back to you.
There you go. And once again,
thank you very much, Dara.
As always, we appreciate you. Tesla making a nice little, ooh, that is a pop on Tesla. Oh, you don't want to get the VWAP. Why would you ever allow the fill at VWAP, Tesla? That would just be kind and thoughtful of you. Well, it broke once and failed at 341. If it can break twice, then I'm still going to go for it. I always give Tesla the old 3 rule. Ideally, we can get the volume weighted average price, but it's pretty allergic to it since making that V-shaped recovery. If the Nasdaq can go, if obviously NVIDIA can go, I'm sure AMD is having a good day as well. Apple was already really strong. Let's see if Tesla can't chew its way through this resistance up top. This just makes me want to get more shares out at VWAP on Wayfair. Is that one? I don't know if it's going to be able to hold out. If the market just keeps on ripping, it'll probably go eventually as well, even if it has negative news. So Tesla trying to break out that top. Let's see if we can't get a dip into VWAP. Not even getting a dip in NVIDIA back into that $0.50. We'll just see if we can get to 180. 180 is an obvious next target for NVIDIA, just given the fact that, hey, it's a round number, and there's still that big seller that was at 183, 184 bucks. So we got to be wary of that. I did say in my note today, if NVIDIA gets to that price, I'm shorting it. So I'm going to stick with that. Like, if we break this out, as far as I'm concerned, no further than in here, like 182.7, because I think it's a short into 184, no matter how strong this gets on NVIDIA. Somebody was dumping a boatload of shares for a couple of weeks up there at that price, and until it stops, until proven otherwise, I'd fade that level.
Yeah, I think this market's coming in real strong right now, and I'm not looking to fade anything. Let's be real, other than maybe NIO, which is relatively
$5 higher.
But here's the thing: NVIDIA, I got on watch. Apple is the one I want to fade. Honestly, when I see things running like this, Neil, I'm like, oh boy. I start to gather certain picks or start stalking certain certain prey for the hunt. And so I think Apple's going to be good, maybe potentially if that kind of starts to revert. That's actually rejecting prior day's levels right now. We talk about prior day high, maybe a little bit of a held offer there. You can see the market's hella strong and pushing some fresh highs, and Apple's still kind of struggling with that 229 area as of right now. Maybe that's a little bit telling. I always like to look at market leaders and in terms of weighting in the futures for maybe a little bit of a sign or a signal that we can potentially go off of. And guess what? Google is doing something similar as well, coming into prior day's highs. Look at that aggressive selling that came in off of those 208.50s here, Neil. You can see that strong push, beautiful reversion coming in. Sellers getting pinged once again right off of the open, coming right in, and then a nice grinding bid that takes us right back into those day highs. And guess what? Maybe a false break of those day highs right there. Those highs actually coming in 3 minutes before the open at 208, 208.25s, and then intraday you make a high that's 5 pennies higher, and then you get a nice little pullback as of right now on Google. Still holding above VWAP, still technically in an uptrend after the shake and bake off of the open. So going to continue watching this one. If the market continues to stay strong, then I think maybe we are poised for some fresh highs. Don't forget, this is Google almost at all-time highs. Intraday all-time highs were already pushed in on Friday. I think that was 206s and change. And then after hours, we pointed out that the highs were sitting at 209.5. So we're just kind of consolidating, building into those all-time highs on Google. So we're going to continue to wait and watch to see how that develops. Softy not really doing anything crazy here, kind of chopping around in its opening range. Let's see, Meta is the only one that I'm not really watching right now. Let's take a quick look at that one and see what that one's up to. Okay, so Meta looking somewhat similar to a few of these. Nice shake and bake off of the open there, slow grinding bid back up to the highs. We did push prior day's highs off of the open, but came in pretty aggressively back to the downside. So let's go to the TQQs here, because I do want to take a look at this market and see where we are relative to some prior day's levels here. We did do a bit of a gap down. Prior day's high, 91.32s, and we're slowly kind of creeping up into that as of right now as well. So this was the downtrend I was talking about here on the Nasdaq. We are starting to kind of break that opening range high, breaking and holding pretty well as of right now here on the TQs. Let's take a quick look at the spider and see what that's up to. And oh boy, so a little bit of a chop, but you can see holding that VWAP pretty well. So a nice little VWAP recycle happening on the spider underneath prior days end of day range lows. Look at this beautiful double bottom right here at 644s on the spider. We're kind of trading and shopping around underneath that as of right now. So interesting stuff happening around the board. Let me know what you guys are trading. A lot of people talking about Palantir. Let's take a quick look at Palantir.
Look at the reversion.
See what that one's up to. Oh boy, what a beautiful reversion off that 150 mark, man. Definitely a miss on my part, but it is what it is. Can't catch them all, but hopefully some of you guys are talking about it, and hopefully you guys did catch that as well. SoFi, we know that one's pushing a little bit higher as of right now. Still continuing. Nice sustaining of that bid as well. Sundial talking
Get it,
Jameson,
Sundial.
okay, SNDL. We know that some of these weed names are moving. All right, so Sundial moving around. I know a lot of people part of TLRY on the day today. TLRY with a nice little bid. Wow, 4 times, almost 5 times the relative volume here on the day, Neil. So MSOS definitely looking.
You get more bang
not
for your
really.
Nah, you
not
get more
really.
bang for your buck
MSOS
on TLRY. TLRY is an individual squeeze
boy.
play. The note, like
CGC
the
is
news was an upgrade on TLRY, right? So it's kind of stock specific there. So you got to focus on that one instead of I think MSOS. That's at least what makes sense to me. Josio in the chat. I almost said Jozo. We had a trader. There was a trader on the floor whose nickname was Jozo. I don't even know why we called him Jozo. Like his name wasn't even. He doesn't even make sense when I think about it. There was his trading ID and his name was nothing like it. GDRX long for 2 or 3 weeks. We're gonna have a look in a quick little second here. Just wanted to point out, I got eyes on Intel here. Intel is now back above that $25 level. Remember I said 20, like at 24.6. I'm just gonna slap. Where's the fail thing? Intel goes right into key support at $24.60. And then pulls right back. So like if we close here, we'd have a trend line, but we don't because we basically have the high and then this lower high. We'll see what happens in a couple of minutes. But 24.6 looks like that good support here on Intel. I don't know if we get a second crack at that. But you asked about GDRX. Goodrix, don't really know anything about them, and the volume looks pretty, the volume is pretty low on this thing. Definitely not a day trade. Well, personally, I would not be the biggest fan, and the reasons should be obvious. It just lost the 50 and the 200 period moving average, which is usually a no for me. It fails a $5 level, which is obvious resistance, and it's currently on low volume, failing underneath the 50 and the 200 period moving averages. If you were consolidating above and breaking 5, that's the kind of long that I'd be looking for anyway. So, we appreciate the super chat. We can only ever tell you what we see. And what I see is Wayfair right back into 72. It just keeps on scalping. You get a buck, you get 50 cents, you get a buck. Let's see if we can get VWAP again here on Wayfair. Let's go to Adara.
I can talk quickly about that GDRX to provide some context. There is no news, as Neil mentioned there, but they do have a market cap here of $1.56 billion. They have rallied in the past as well. I do remember this ticker for sure. And they have a short float here of about 7.8%. That's some of the details there for GDRX. Back to you.
Yeah, so NVIDIA just made another tag of the high. It couldn't get to 178.5 for a reload, but let's see if the lower high is still going to get respected. I might throw something in the 60s to try to get a reload on NVIDIA as that one starts to come right back in. Look, super strong off of the lows here, but the continuation off the highs has been muted. Ooh, double top. Now we got ourselves a bit of a double top here on NVIDIA. I'll let it bounce first. Let it bounce first. If it shows me the bounce off the highs, and I'll try to get back in and add on the way to the upside. It just makes a little bit more sense with this little bit of a topping move that we just saw. I saw top in the futures, same seller, same price here on NVIDIA. Feel like we should always be looking at AMD, but like look at the difference. Like you've got NVIDIA that reports on Wednesday, looking strong and trying to break out the top. It's like AMD just trying to get off the lows here. So I guess we're looking at the right one for some strength. I'd prefer if this was across the board. I just feel like it's a little bit better for us if you're firing on all cylinders in the chip space, it's a little bit easier for us to get this up and push things through because it's been so choppy. Here, you want a good sense of direction. That's easier when you have everybody going at the same time. All right, now you've got a hold of the volume weighted average price on Intel above 25. This looks a little bit more constructive. Next available dip, will go long, not because the U.S. government's going long, but that is the news. They're buying a 10% stake, like it or not, regardless of what you think about it, it's happening. And I can't see that. I can't see where the negative part of it is specifically for Intel, which has caught a bit of a low at that $19 level and has been rallying since. Right, ever since the presidential seal of approval, sometimes you just go with the trend.
Yeah, I think a few of you in the chat talking about this THAR THAR immune kind of was on radar maybe a few days ago. It did a crazy move off of earnings, and guess what, guys? It's halted up as of right now, above those earnings. I guess day 2 prices. So strong push. Look at that. That was earnings on Wednesday, August 20th. Nice little push, sustain of that level. Low volume day, we talk about maybe liquidity traps. A low volume day, look at that volume drop off, absolutely crazy. Strong volume on day 1, strong volume on day 2, absolutely nothing compared to those 2 days on day 3. And then day 4, boom, halt up to the upside through $6.30 as of right now. So let's take a quick look at the breakdown here. 1.82 shares float. And I'm going to quickly check.
1.82 mil?
1.82 mil
That's
share
the whole float.
That is the whole float. We don't know what the actual free float is on top of that.
Well, it can't be that big.
Let's take a quick look at what the short float on THAR is as well. Let me just... And okay, nothing too crazy here. I'm seeing a short float of 0.32. I'm sure, again, that's delayed data. I'm sure over the past few days, that number is significantly higher. Let's see what's up with the DARA.
IWM on watch here. Let's start with that. Nice bottom tail candle here. We make that low just below 233 halves, and we push a little bit higher. We are right now oscillating near the intraday high, and actually, the high right off the morning there around that 234.20 area. We are still below Friday's high. Now, if you're wondering about this rally on Friday, of course the whole market rallied, but IWM is specifically poised to do well if we have this rate cut, because we know these small caps are very rate sensitive, the index included. Let's talk here about AREC. No news here in American Resources Corporation. This is actually a rare earth related play on Thursday. So last Thursday, August 21st, they actually had a showcase here, a spotlight in an article from USA Today. So good look there for AREC, about a 7% short float. We have another stock on watch here with roughly the same short float, CGTX. No news on Cognition Therapeutics, but this one nice uptrend here off the open. Last but not least, MBOT, Microbot Medical, like the other names on this list, no brand new catalyst, but last Wednesday they did announce that the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has granted a patent covering these robotic surgical systems. So MBOT here with an 18% short float and a catalyst from last week on watch, near day's highs. Definitely a couple small caps to look at here, guys, and make sure to like and subscribe as we send you back to Neil and Obi.
Thank you very much.
Well, it looks like the trend is breaking right now. Well, at least it's attempting to. Had to jump out, jumped into a trend break on Palantir. Look, it's an obvious trend break. You can see the compression, and then it broke down. But NVIDIA, at the same time, pulled right back, lost that support at 178.8. It's going to try and get it back. This is one I can get back into. It ends up holding that low. This is one I can get back into, but let's be real. When Palantir breaks a trend like this, I'm going to take a shot. I was bearish on it at the open, but it never got to 158. It just flushed instantaneously. So I want to look for that short back into the volume weighted average price. Wayfair, I'd say third time's a charm, but it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sixth time, not a charm. So 5 times short. It's worked every time until now. Maybe Wayfair fills the gap. So it holds on to this 72 that it failed at the open, but pull back into 70.5 and then 71s. No real follow through past like $1 to $1.50 on Wayfair, which I think you're looking for a little bit more than that. The stock's down 7%. It was $80 and it was $78, and now at like 72. So you're looking for more than $1 and $1.50 on Wayfair. Like if this is the one that you feel like would be the home run, well, I thought this could be the bigger home run, and I didn't want to wait for it to break down at 70. I wanted to be short into it, and then if it broke 70, there's a big gap fill on the daily chart here for Wayfair. This could easily be a day 2, day 3 trade. If we break that 70 tomorrow, I think I'll like it just as much. So we're back in I shouldn't say back into Palantir. It's just we're into Palantir for the first time, but that's a trend break. It's not necessarily the trade we were looking for at the open. Let's see if we can't get to the volume weighted average price as the Nasdaq looks to pull back here. A little bit.
Yeah, I think there's a few distinctly different things happening. If you look at SoFi right now, SoFi is continuing to push up. I know a lot of people in the chat are throwing up the dollar sign SoFi. SoFi is at $26, current high at 26.01. So crazy kind of a bid there. Nice, beautiful continuation happening from some of prior weeks' price action. Nice flat top push. Of that $25 area as well. We were looking at that $25. Nice consolidation in the morning session here, and then breakout of the opening range high, and holding that continuation. You can see how clean some of these candles are. Whoa, there's some volume coming in through the 26 as well here on SoFi. So yeah, a little bit of an up move. Let's go to the weekly chart and take a look at where it's standing relative to prior levels. So I know this is not all-time highs just yet, but oh boy, Neil, it seems like we're coming into those levels. So a nice rounded bottom here, 28.26 is the all-time high, and only about $2 and about a quarter away from those all-time highs. Nice a breakout and build up on this one as well. V-shape on a much higher time frame, Neil.
Ooh, I like those V-shaped recoveries. Maybe you can find those on swing trades as well, and might be able to do so through Trade the Pool's new special feature just for traders like yourselves. A free ebook featuring 4 proven swing trading strategies from Trade the Pool's top funded traders. Inside, you'll find and see exactly how they approach the markets, how they manage risk, and what setups they rely on, so you can learn and grow from what actually works. Download it now by scanning the QR code on screen or hitting the link in the description. Shout out to Trade the Pool and thank you them for sponsoring this segment of the show. Maximus in the chat. Ooh, I like this one. Let's get better together. I appreciate GTV, Trader TV Live, for keeping my head in the game. That's all you ever try to do. Keep your head in the game. Try to stay focused. Move on to the next opportunity whenever you can. Because the market is almost always looking to give you an opportunity. It doesn't stop moving. It doesn't stop shaking. All right, Palantir.
That's a good point. You know what I realized? It's just like, because sometimes I'm just like, some of my worst days are me trying a trade over and over and over and over again until I just get clocked out for the day. I'm too strung onto the idea. Maybe I'm too aggressive with sizing. Regardless, I'm very strung onto that idea, and I think that's a good point to make, because you know what I realized? If I just throw in a stop and be like, all right, this is the last time I'm going to try this, and then I'm going to look elsewhere, more often than not, those days I make a pretty decent recovery and potentially back to green more often than not as well. Just waiting and being patient. No, and also a big part of that also comes in believing in yourself. Like knowing that you're capable of extracting from the market, and if this trade is not going to give it to you, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. This is not the best trade in the last century. You know what I mean?
You know what?
Take the stop and move on.
What I love about that is be confident enough to be wrong in the trade, knowing there's going to be something else.
Yeah, there's going to be something else.
To me, going over and over again and fighting the same stock, that's not confidence in the trade. That's a lack of confidence that you can find something else that's going to work for you. Right. So you just keep fighting the same stock over and over again because you don't want to go out there and try to find another trade. So, I absolutely love that point. That's wise words, Obi. That
from
being
you.
said,
wise words from you. Where's the next trade?
What have you said it?
No, but you said it, and I built on it.
But sometimes you do have to go back.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that as a segue.
If it's the gift that keeps on giving.
No.
Right?
You can take a hit on something and be like, I didn't want to fight it before, but I got to go back and look at this stock. And this is a segue to Open Door. Ultimately, it was trend down. I saw some sellers at 5. I'm like, okay, I would prefer to be long the stock, but I tried it short. It didn't work. Now what do we have? Upward trend, which I was going to draw like this. Upward trend on Open Door. You know it's a squeeze play. We know that after Jackson Hole raised the chances of a rate cut, that this fundamentally is a company that stands to benefit from lower rates, right? So this is kind of like a double whammy. It was a good long on Friday, more or less wherever you got it. I'm not going to say you just close your eyes and go long the stock on Friday, but I mean, it certainly felt like that a lot of times. If we can hold on to this trend, great. I think that leads us to a breakout of the high with a stop at the trend line. The other side of that is, if we lose this trend break, I got to try the short again. That's just how it is.
Yep.
Let's go over to Adara. Ooh, hold on. Buyer and Palantir at 154 refresher. I'm going to get some out there. Got to take 30 cents. There's a refresher on the bid. Adara.
Just keep an eye here on RR, Rich Tech Robotics. This one is near day's highs. This morning, they announced that as of last Thursday, they had signed a 2-year master services agreement with a major global retailer that, as far as I know, they haven't named. I want to mention as well with RR, this name does have the tendency to rally. It has done so in the past. We've got about a $350 million market cap. It is on the Russell 2000, and we have a short float of about 16.2%. Back to you.
Thank you, Adara. You've got to be kidding me. The second, right when we're going to Adara, I'm like, there is a refresher at 154 and Palantir going to take some out. Well, somebody took that refresher out at 154. This is now screaming towards the volume weighted average price, which I'm going to throw a bid out in front. Let's go to the 70s in here. I'm going to sit on the bid in front of the volume weighted average price and Palantir, but ready to maybe mean revert it out if we catch another bid here. The other thing I'm looking for is, let's be real, we're scale up on the futures. So if we hold VWAP on the future, even this 235.20 on the Nasdaq, if you hold on to that, that could be a nice little bounce zone. You've got to remember, even when you've got a winning trade on or a good curl, what's the overall structure? Palantir is a liquidity grab underneath Friday's lows. And where we would be bouncing at VWAP is the open range bottom on Palantir. So it's not nothing down here. It could easily, this could be a lower high and we could trend into the low of the day, but I got to remember the structure. The structure right now of the market is up, and the structure of where VWAP is also support from Friday. So that's why I'm going to go station to station. And again, everyone has their own strategy. Some people have wide stops, tight stops. Some people will be like, this is going to go through VWAP, and I'm going to hold it for the rest of the day. I like to have a different plan from that for sure. And there goes open. It just broke the high. Let's see if we can't get the. Yeah, that's worth an oh boy. Open door squeezing again, because that's what it does.
Yeah, I think that thing's on a crazy multi-day run. I might be playing with some fire here, Neil, but SoFi starting to catch maybe a little bit of selling, so I kind of want to involve myself in that one.
But I like SoFi.
26 had some significant volume. We're kind of chopping and churning around that 26 level. The market's also taking a little bit of a pullback,
SoFi.
but SoFi's kind of shown us that it might be doing a little bit of its own thing over the past few days with the aggressive kind of buying that's been coming in. Here, a bit of a multi-day move on SoFi. Is it overextended? Questionable. But let's see if selling can come in here, or maybe I'm a little bit too early. That's perfectly fine. Still waiting on this NIO to crack low a day here. I don't know if that's going to come in, but that would be pretty nice. Let's see if that can come in. That's currently at $6.30, and we're holding in and around prior day's levels as well. Prior day end of day low was $6.32. So just wicking that prior day low just by a few pennies there, and selling coming in once again on top of VWAP. So that's kind of what I wanted to see here. Market tailwind now finally on our side as well. So let's see if that can come in with any sort of oomph. And SoFi, it seems like I'm probably going to get stopped out here on SoFi as it pushes right back up towards day highs. Where's the next trade? That's what I'm looking for. What's up, Adara?
Yeah, just be aware here. We just got the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Business Index coming at negative 0.18 versus the forecast of negative 0.17. So slightly lower than the forecast and lower than the previous print of positive 0.9. So again, Dallas Fed Texas Manufacturing Output Index on watch there. Just the quick numbers there. Back to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the break even out on Palantir. Is that just caught a hefty buyer is the best way to put it. And as I said, the market is bouncing up top here. We're bouncing higher lows all the way through. So that's the thing. A mean reversion trade is by definition going against the grain. So sometimes you just have to take what you can get and understand that the stock wants to go in the other direction. As I look up, it's an open door to all-time. I don't want to. I don't want to say like all-time highs here because I don't think this actually got there. Okay, pretty close. Pretty close on open. 542 would be the local high at 52 weeks, but the all-time high is nowhere close. 542 is current resistance. I would love to catch a dip in open. Ooh, we just did. So pull back in a prior high. There's only two places. That was entirely coincidental. I had no idea the timing of that was going to work. But pull back into the prior high or VWAP. If it had broken trend, then I would have gone short. Otherwise, I'm taking the long into the hold of this trend line, which we have from the low, which is literally at the open. Pun absolutely not intended there, but there's not much you can do with this name. So I want to be long this stock as long as it holds this trend line. I'll probably offer something out at this in front of 550 because that just makes sense to me. If we don't break this 542 now, maybe I take some out for like 6 or 7 cents, but I'll look for like 10 pennies first and then go from there. As open, this is just a pure squeeze play on open, and it's not even like it's a gigantic short float, but it's got some big names behind it with Tudor catching a bit of a bid. Obviously, the interest rates story is going to end up helping these guys. I don't think this is. A lot of people have tried to equate this one to Carvana. I don't know that it's. Nothing is going to do what Carvana did, but this was a $1 stock, and Carvana went from price targets of $1 to like $300.
Yeah.
Crazier things have happened. I'd just be happy. I think most people would be happy if it got to $10. This kind of a move back in here. If you go back to 2022, I think it's probably a more reasonable target for this squeeze outside of it turning into Carvana. Adara?
Yeah, just keep an eye here on WU, Western Union. Mike Alfred here, who is, I guess, a value investor and board director, he's posted that he's building a 2 million share short position in Western Union, saying that the business is in terminal decline and that it'll be headed to zero within the next 2 or 3 years. He said over the next few weeks he'll explain his thesis further, but either way, WU near day's lows, not bad volume, about 1 million shares traded so far on the day as Mike Alfred announces a short position. Back to you.
That's interesting. You don't see that very often. You don't see players coming out and be like, "Oh, I'm very
initiating."
I'm heavily getting into this." That's an interesting look. Western Union, I'm kind of looking.
But let's be real. Transfer is now going to be made easier. Like the blockchain is going to change the way transfers are done. And you had Kevin O'Leary was here talking about that same thing. I understand the logic behind it, but that is that's different. I really appreciate that. Like, to me, it's one thing to say, hey, I don't believe in this, I'm initiating a short position. The same would be like, hey, I think, like when NIO was a technical buy, I like that technical buy. As opposed to what we usually get, which is something, and again, I understand this is how they have to make money, which is after you've probably already amassed a short, let's just say in Palantir, you then come out with a short sell report. Like after you've clearly already amassed a position and then you profit from it. I get it. It's allowed. People are allowed to make money how they want. The rules are the rules. And it's like, don't hate the player, hate the game. So respect to Andrew Left for that. But ultimately, that makes some sense to me with Western Union. I'd love to read it a little bit more into that, though.
I think
Palantir,
that's an interesting look.
right
They're going to lose
decision
their
to get out.
business. Right?
Well, they're going to lose business.
Yeah.
It's just a question of do they have the ability to adapt? Is there going to be, like, could that be, I don't know, are they gonna have to fold in, or are they gonna become some kind of a target for somebody else to see what they can get out of the last parts of the business, or maybe, and that's just speculation. But I gotta get to Palantir for a quick second. Palantir, this is why you get away from it. You can have a nice curl on the short at the right moment, but acknowledge that it was curling into a support area, and when it starts bouncing, you gotta get out of Dodge. Just sometimes you have to get away from the stock. It's a great setup. I liked it for the short at the open, but just because we didn't have the short at the open doesn't mean you compound it by forcing the short there. So you take the win that you're allowed to have by the market and not try to get more than it wants to give you. Hopefully Open Door can continue going. That's what we'd like to see. But Venue 42, great number, great name. What are your thoughts on HCWB holds $6? Does it have upside? Ooh, a lot of small cappers today.
HCWB, yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't remember that one off
a lot
the
of
top,
a lot of small cappers here today. This is a good volume one though. Sometimes we get these questions and it'll be about like ones that aren't doing a lot of volume. So here's the first thing I always say about a stock that has a reverse split, generally speaking, the pattern on these reverses is you just start trending down, which is what this did. It did attempt a breakout, but then went into the trend down. You then have these dead cat bounces, which to me tend to hold trend. Good news, this is broken through the prior dead cat bounce. That's good. The bad news is it doesn't really mean anything if it doesn't close above this prior high. If it just loses that high again, kind of like how it did here and how it did there, then that's not bullish at all. Then I think it just goes right back in. The shorts just loaded back into this after the split because that's a definite pattern that lots of hedge funds do. They'll wait for one of these kind of companies to do a reverse split, and they just short the you-know-what out of it after every single pop. So if you don't hold on to the prior high, they're not really all that concerned. So that's going to be key for that close on HCWB. Just have a look at other types of reverse split names and patterns, and that'll give you a good hint at that. Let's go up to Adara.
Just keep an eye on INTC here. Worth noting, apparently we just had Bernstein, of course, an analyst here, releasing a note saying to avoid Intel shares. I can't tell if this is just something that's being recirculated on X now or if it came out earlier today, but I just did a quick Google and it looks like I'm not seeing any evidence this came out earlier, so this could be a brand new note here from Bernstein saying to avoid Intel shares. Back to you.
Interesting stuff. All right, guys, so in Africa, a new generation of leaders is rising. The woman boss empowers them. We provide the training and mentorship women and girls need to start businesses, create change, and build sustainable futures. We've already impacted over 10,000 lives. Your contribution creates the next opportunity. So scan the QR code now and empower the next woman leader today. All right, guys, SoFi got stopped out on that SoFi. Market's pretty strong in terms of the Nasdaq, the ES, not so much, pulling back a little bit there. But SoFi is continuing this grind to the upside. So we broke out of that level and just grinding. I tried to get involved with the first kind of selling that I saw. Didn't really work. That's okay. Where's the next trade? I do have this one on watch now because it is starting to get a little bit extended, but we'll see. We'll see where it kind of leads to. Again, this is a bit of a push on this one. It drops down 5-10 pennies and then holds, grinds back up. You can see how well it's been holding up on a 3-minute or a 5-minute as well. So just going to be patient for it to do something that is distinctly different. What's up, Adara?
Here is the sector board today. Actually, a lot of sectors that are red. Health technology red across the board here. Consumer non-durables, with the notable exception of Nike, is generally moving to the downside. Producer manufacturing weak, utilities weak, transportation weak, process industries weak, commercial services, distribution, and health services. Finance and retail trade a little bit more mixed here, but let's talk about these tech sectors. We have a little bit of relative strength here within these names. Electronic technology here, NVIDIA, Broadcom, GE, RTX, Intel, all to the upside. Now, the most interesting of these two are NVIDIA and Intel. Of course, Intel on watch after the U.S. government confirmed following a series of reports that they have taken a 10% stake in Intel, whereas NVIDIA on watch here ahead of their earnings reports. They're also going to be at the Hot Chips conference from today and tomorrow. Technology service here, Netflix actually doing pretty well after a weaker performance last week, up 2.25%. Google here up 1.3%, and Intuit after its earnings report last week, where it actually traded a little bit lower, trying to gain here relatively strong today. Back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Adair. We do have this. Oh, did that always have that sound effect?
Yep.
Did it though? Fabian's telling me that it did. Well, I trust you. I feel like I didn't always hear that. Fantastic. Rocket Lab, ASTS are to the upside, and quickly I'll just throw you, they had a successful launch, 70th Electron mission on Saturday, so Rocket Lab is squeezing. ASTS, affectionately known by traders as Astis, every now and then, also going on sympathy. Program upside. This is also a broken trend here for everybody. And I did mention in the chat, if you ever see like, oh my goodness, no one's looking at this particular symbol, why are they ignoring this? We're never willfully ignoring something that's moving. That's never the case. But just type $ in the symbol. Because I've noticed every single time someone's putting in Rocket Lab, you're not putting the $ in there. And that makes it hard for us to know. That's why we have this up. the visualizer. Thank you to Fabian for building it for us. Because that way we can always know what are the most popular symbols. As I'm saying, notice how Rocket Lab is climbing up. It wasn't there earlier. So that's a lot of the times if we're missing something, it's not moving. It's because A, you can't track every stock in the market and try to trade everything. It's just not possible. But we want to be here for you to give the view on what's going on, be able to get you any pertinent news story from Adara, and just try to lead you guys in the right direction. So yeah, make sure you type $ and then the ticker in the chat. You have to be a subscriber to be in the chat, so make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe. Let's grow this community and be the best that we can be. I love to see, Palantir open breaking out, SoFi, let's go SoFi, Rocket Lab looking pretty strong. THAR, we talked about MG. The only one that I think near the top is MGNI. I don't think we've talked about that one at all, and I am not necessarily familiar with it. But for the most part, the market was looking good a second ago. Not as much anymore there, Obi. That was
down,
okay, no, but open still. See, the good thing about Open Door is it literally doesn't care what the market is doing. It can just squeeze because we're trending, we're breaking this upward trend here on the Qs and going red again. Meanwhile, Open Door just says, yeah, but that doesn't matter. Open Door is a squeeze. That's just all it is. And this trend line might not be valid anymore. I'm going to leave it in. That's where my stop is under this trend line. But it might not be valid if we make a break of the high, which we're doing right now, and then putting in a steeper trend line. Then I'd start making another trend line to follow along here on Open Door as it just continues to keep going and going and going and going.
Yeah, there's a few stocks that are just straight to the upside. You talk about Open Door. You just talked about I guess Rocket Labs and pretty much the whole sector there, kind of moving.
You can say Astus.
Yeah, Astus, and I think Lunar also kind of moving around in that bunch as well. Here comes NIO back to 650. So that was a bit of an interesting area this morning where we had a bit of a, I guess it was a held offer. It was there while it lasted. And now we're pushing right back up into it. So we're going to be patient, see if that potentially comes in with more of the same. Or does that resistance now turn into support? And do we trade a little bit higher? No idea. But 650s is an interesting area here on NIO. And don't forget, yesterday's high, let me bring in this chart right now. Yesterday's high, that means Friday's high, is just sitting at $6.50. So nothing too crazy. Trading below yesterday's high after some strong aggressive push. And look at that, holding that VWAP as of right now as well, and holding it pretty well, might I add. So looking for more of the same. Let's see if sellers step back in and around VWAP as they did off of the open, as they did a little bit here, while VWAP was what, $6.54. I think there was a held offer at 51, so nothing too crazy happening there on NIO. I'm looking for the next trade. Where is the next trade, guys? That's what I'm looking for. Google. Yeah, Google was moving around. Okay, so a little bit of a pullback. Is this the reversion that we're looking for, Neil? Apple's still holding up pretty well. Let's take a quick look at Amazon. Amazon was pushing. Okay, Amazon's a little bit choppy. Don't really want to get involved in that one. Meta as well. Meta choppy. Don't like that. Tesla, oh boy, is it moving? Nope. Still pretty choppy there. Still trading, I guess, now back into the opening range highs. So opening range holding pretty well. We attempt to break lower, we attempt to break higher, and then we basically do nothing off of that, just consolidating on top of VWAP as of right now, but holding its highs pretty well, right? We talk about that 350 being a bit of an interesting price area, and would you look at that, only about $10 away from that 350. Are we going to hit it today? No idea, but it can and should be interesting when and if those prices do come in. So a little bit of a pullback happening on is this SoFi here. So 26s was an interesting area. Let's see if we can pull back in, but nothing too crazy. This is still technically holding a decent chunk of that uptrend as of right now. Have buyers dissipated? Tough to tell as of right now as well. So SoFi, this is what I'm looking at right here. We'll go to SoFi, and okay, there's some selling coming in, and I think we have some fresh news with Adara.
We have Elon Musk, according to a court filing, suing Apple and OpenAI in U.S. court in Texas for allegedly violating antitrust law. That is his company XAI filing this lawsuit. We know Elon Musk already threatened to make this lawsuit, so not super shocking here, but a court filing reveals that Elon Musk's XAI has in fact sued Apple and OpenAI for allegedly violating antitrust law. Back to you.
Boy, Apple
doesn't care.
Apple's
just pushing
straight to the upside. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say it doesn't give any you-know-whats, Apple right now, but that's clearly the case. They're like, yeah, you want to sue us? Sue us. We have the U.S. government always trying to come down. They got the U.S. government. Yo, you got the you got the state, you got the federals, you got the EU. I'm talking as if it's Avon Barksdale, but it's true. If you're the Mag 7, you're no stranger, and they seem to not care, and they seem to be super cool with the price action right now. This is currently breaking out the highs. This is that time of day, though. I don't know. Like the Nasdaq has failed to hold green already once before. So I think you want to see it start breaking out that top. Not usually the time of the day that I'm a huge fan of engaging in a long break. If it's early, fine. At this time of day with negative news, I'm just going to stay away from Apple. But going right back over to Palantir, I jumped out of the short. It's still somewhat valid if we hold underneath this pre-market breakdown level. If we don't really break away and just start, failing, maybe even going sideways in here, and then takes a trend break, which I can now look at, both of these connections here, then this could go back into the short. It just wasn't a short at the moment we had before, but as long as it holds underneath this high, I can look for another trend reversion on Palantir. Right, we're gonna go into money talks, but I gotta tell you, I am now moving the trend exit on open because it is now extended through the high of the day. So it's got a steeper trend line since VWAP. This is the new out, is this trend line from VWAP instead of the all-day trend. Let's go to Adara, see how the US dollar is doing.
The U.S. dollar actually slightly green today after a pretty significant tumble on Friday. Now, why did it drop on Friday? Well, we know the market actually popped here after Fed Chair Jerome Powell indicated that there could be some grounds for a rate cut as these balances shift. The Fed might need to adjust its policy. Now, the U.S. dollar did not like that catalyst. We actually made a slight push above Thursday's high and then plummeted. As of today, only making a small dent in that drop that we had yesterday. We did have some home sales data coming through this morning. July home sales, negative 0.6%. Prior print was 4.1%, but it was actually revised here. The prior, initially here was 0.6%. So they revised this number significantly higher. Our number for July here was actually printing lower and actually decreased. 86.2% of participants are right now seeing a rate cut of 25 basis points at that September 17th meeting, according to the CME FedWatch tool. But let's talk here about what's on tap for later in the week. Now, Tuesday and Wednesday, a little bit quieter, though we do have some Fed comments and a couple smaller numbers, including some of these auctions. But Thursday and Friday are where things get interesting. Thursday morning, you'll be getting the GDP growth rate and initial jobless claims. And then on Friday, I would say probably the most closely watched indicators here, PCE and core PCE month over month and year over year. PCE is often considered the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. But then we will get University of Michigan consumer sentiment print at 10 a.m. This is another pretty closely watched number. So the U.S. dollar might be a little bit more on watch later this week, guys. Back to you.
Yes, it will be on watch a little bit later this week. But what will be on watch right now is lunch, Obi.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I'm immediately gonna spoil it by saying this is a bit of a mixed board.
The most important trade of the day.
It's a little mixed. First of all, we've got miso glazed salmon.
Okay.
That's good. Wok tossed noodles.
Nice.
That's good. Broccoli.
Nice.
No.
Oh?
No. And that's the problem. We got the broccoli, chef's choice salad, which is pretty much what we always get, but it's the broccoli.
The steamed broccoli is not too bad.
Oh, if you like broccoli, I'm sure it's absolutely fine. But if you don't like broccoli like myself, then
True.
That's not the best in the world. But I'll take the salmon.
So if a pizza
Joe, we got
had
salmon.
If a pizza had broccoli's nice.
Oh, I don't waste food.
And pineapples.
Oh, Pineapple, no. You should have stopped at broccoli.
So if it has both,
no, I'll eat. Look, I'll eat.
How much
broccoli on
more
pizza.
averse are you from that pizza?
But I'm more. It's first of all, it's not pizza because it has broccoli on it. So that's the mistake right there. It's not pizza.
You see this pizza
No, but it's
with
not
broccoli
pizza if
on
it has pineapple on it. So therefore, I'm already averse to it. The broccoli isn't even a factor at that point. Like I'll eat pizza with broccoli on it. If you cook up rice with whatever with broccoli in there, I'm gonna eat it. You make a broccoli soup, I'm gonna eat it.
Okay.
It's just if I have the choice,
Right.
Yeah, then I'm not gonna, I'm not trying to waste food, but I'm just
trying to gauge how serious you are on the broccoli because I like broccoli. It's not that bad.
No, it's not that it's not that bad. There's just so many options when it comes to quality vegetables that why would I?
You see, there's avocado today.
There was literal avocados just sitting in the fruit bowl,
So
which is a weird look because it wasn't like it was cut up.
Too bad we don't have a toaster.
No, but but they didn't cut up the avocado, Obi. It was just a straight up avocado.
It's a DIY avocado.
It's a little bizarre
it's like
for
any
the
other
caterer
fruit.
to drop.
You know what I
just
mean?
It doesn't even
You
make
gotta deal with
it
your
literally doesn't
avocado.
even make any sense. Just very quickly here, it looks like topping tail, get out. Okay, you just heard me very quickly say topping tail, get out. There was a trend from VWAP. There's the trend from the breakout. I had to eyeball that one on open door, but again, I'm always going off the next trend, like this trend into that break, but once you break out this high at 75, then there's the other trend. I'd still love to jump back into open door, but this was a simple breakout of the top, dipped right back into 530, and then able to get up to 570. Well, 575, but I'm out at the 570 level. We'll look for another trade here in open door as that continues to be relatively strong. I mean, what are you going to do? Like, it's a squeeze. Palantir, I still want to look for a good short opportunity. It seems to be holding around the 155 level, but I don't want to be too early on this stock. Like, I can't say, like, if I was going to be in the short on a trend with only 2 points, I'd already be in this. But I'm inclined to believe that trend from the bottom had already happened and it didn't go to VWAP. So now I would look at something along these lines. If we can hold another trend that emerges like this with a little bit more strength, I'd like to see another connection here, have it hold that trend line, then break it, then I'd short Palantir. But open door, let's see if it can give me another entry at some point into that long. It's just been so strong. And on Friday, I think I let it go. I only went long twice on this. On Friday, I'd like to be long it more than just one time if we can, if it's going to trend like it did on Friday.
Yeah, I think that Intel look is looking pretty decent here with a almost full-on V-shaped recovery. So yeah, let's see if that one potentially comes in there. I'm looking for a potential continuation, and the reclaim of that 25 was nice. We hold prior day, like look at that close. Like, I know that people look at prior day opens and closes with a little bit more value. So let's take a quick look at what price we closed at. We closed at 24.81. on Friday on Intel above VWAP on a nice strong uptrend as well. So good stuff happening there. Guess what? Today, 24.68. So pretty much relatively the same, roughly in and around those prices. We come in and we catch a bid for the continuation. And not only do we catch a bid, guys, look at this. Off the open, nice little flush, grab of the highs, pulls all the way down, almost $1 down on something like Intel, and then reversion. Oh boy, what a beautiful reversion here happening on Intel, up about, I guess it took about an hour, about 78 pennies off of the lows. So a decent chunk of that flush was reverted, over 50% reversion on Intel on the day today. And you can see the market's coming in pretty strong as well. Very aggressive bid. So when it comes to something like NVIDIA, that's a little bit better here as it is pushing through its highs. We did see a bit of selling off the open. V-shape did come in, but look at that. Nice little structure hold as well. We break out of the opening range high. We pull back into the opening range high area, maybe even pre-market highs area. So that adds a factor of confluence. That adds a factor of confluence. That adds a factor of confluence. And then this adds more confluence as well. So that 178 half hold for a push a little bit higher for the continuation because it's showing us some strength. Decent look, decent push on that on the day today. So nice little push on NVIDIA. not really seeing, I guess, anything similar or close on Intel either. Let's take a quick look at the rest of the chip basket here and see what else is strong, Neil. So TSM at day highs, SMCI at day highs, Intel we just talked about, Micron, nothing too crazy just yet, as it's still trading within its opening range, and NVIDIA definitely the strongest out of the bunch, but SMCI looking pretty strong as well. And then we just talked about AMD as well. AMD looking a little bit more in line with Intel, as it is still holding below its opening range high. You can see sellers coming in pretty aggressively, but holding and consolidating above VWAP as of right now in a market that's relatively strong. So that's the stuff I'm watching. MSOS, yeah, sure. Let's take a quick look once again at MSOS and see if that's potentially coming in once more. So yeah, oh boy. That's finally, I guess, catching up. We know that, what was it, TLRY with the news? TLRY, yeah. I think, well, I don't really remember specifically which one was the one, but yeah, TLRY holding up quite well. I know a lot of people were talking about that. And then SNDL, I think a few people mentioned that as well. So both of those holding up very, very well on the day. So waiting for this bid to dissipate here on these here general markets. No real dissipation of the bid. So it's going to be patient. Maybe we just bid up all day, right? We've been seeing that strength in the market. Things are hitting all-time highs. Google at all-time highs. That one was lagging behind for the longest time. Let's take a quick look at Netflix, because I like to watch Netflix as well. Not just on my big screen, but also the stock here on relatively smaller screens. So NFLX, oh boy, look at that strength. So holding VWAP, so Netflix hella strong on the day here as well. I want to know what it's doing on the weekly real quick. Let's bring that up, take this VWAP out of the way. Are we consolidating at these highs? Yes, we are. Look at this beautiful, beautiful trend since the beginning of the year, Neil. So we got that first, I guess in April, yeah, March, April, we had that low, and then we talk about the bid that's been coming in since April, and Netflix has had an over 600% run, and that's April of 2022, not April of this year. So that's a bit of a run for the past couple of years, but you can see that it's the only one that's had such a steady grinding bid to the upside. Everything else has had a little bit of turbulence over the past couple of years. So shout out to Netflix for putting on a beautiful show for the buyers.
Well played, sir. And it is 11 o'clock. Just so everyone knows, you have a little bit of a treat today. Because Sharif, unable to make it in. He's okay. We've checked in with him. But you've got Joey Options, otherwise known as Joey Shivers, Joey No Apple Pie, Joey Runway.
He took off the hoodie.
Joined at the desk by Adara, and she's wearing green, and the market's trying to go green, so hopefully that's a good luck charm. We'll be back at 2 o'clock, but enjoy it. Adara and Joe, go get them.
Take it easy, guys.